All right, the time is 7:05. Please take your seats. If everybody could take their seats, and as we stated in the past, since we have the clickers, they're Wi-Fi clickers, you can sit anywhere you wish in the auditorium. So please be seated so we can begin this meeting this evening. Okay, thank you very much. All right, hopefully you're all here for the special and the annual town meeting for 2024. I called to order the 2024 town meeting of the town of Stoughton. The meeting is now in session. We're going to have some procedural motions in a few minutes, but just let me give a couple of clearinghouse here. This town meeting is being held in person at the Stoughton High School Auditorium, located at 232 Pearl Street in Stoughton here. This meeting is also being broadcast live through the Stoughton Media Access Corporation and is being recorded for future broadcasting. I ask everybody, if you're able, please rise and stand. Join me in pledging allegiance to our national flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic from which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Please remain standing. Now we have joining us this evening to sing our national anthem, the Old Stoughton Musical Society. I'd like to introduce from Precinct 2 Town Meeting Representative Mr. Ed Quigley.
You all know, turn the mic on before you speak into it. Okay. Last year, under the direction of Renee LeBlanc-Hartney, we sang a few patriotic songs to open the annual town meeting, and it was her wish that this would become a yearly tradition. Renee addressed this body to request funds for purchasing storage for the Society's music and was pleased that her request met your approval. Sadly, Renee lost her years-long battle with cancer just last month. But her effort to preserve, protect, and perform choral music by American composers will continue. This past Saturday, the Society performed a concert of songs of hope and healing, with half the proceeds being donated to the Jimmy Fund in her memory. For those of you who don't know, the Stoughton Music Society was organized in 1786 and is the oldest continually performing choral society in the United States. In 1908, when incorporated under the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the name was changed to the Old Stoughton Music Society, and it has been known by that name since. From the inspiration of a singing school given in Stoughton in 1774 by Boston composer William Billings, considered the father of American choral music, a group of male singers in town decided to form a singing society. Their first president was Elijah Dunbar. He was also their conductor and a singer. They began to admit women into the society in the 1840s, and Renee was the first female conductor in the Society's 237-year history. Tonight we'll be singing two songs. The first, the Star-Spangled Banner. The second, Chester, is a patriotic anthem composed by William Billings and sung during the American Revolution. Billings wrote an early version for this in 1770 and made improvements for his singing master's assistant in 1778, and that's the version we'll be singing. We'll be joined by a few members of the Stoughton High School choral groups as we begin to grow a partnership with the schools. Because, as everyone knows, and I want to show this, Stoughton has always been first in music since 1786.
Please be seated. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you. And thank you to Mr. Ed Quigley. Thank you, Ed. All right, as we continue, next I'd like to introduce our town officials. We have Mr. Steve Cavey, our chair of the select board. Steve, you can, in case people don't know you. Scott Carrara, Vice Chair, the Select Board. And we have the Select Board members, Deborah Roberts, Lou Gito, Joseph McCrisky. Did I get everybody? Okay, thank you. And also our town manager, Tom Coulter. Our assistant town manager, Mark Tisdale. And we have our Town Council Brian Winter from the firm of Mead, Telemann, and Costa. Did I get that right? Also like to introduce our school committee members. They're sitting right here off to my right. Chair of the school committee, Catherine Weiss. Chair. Lindsay Kreckler. Sorry, Lindsay. School committee members, Armando Barboza. Karen Powers. Is she here? And Chris Shannon. There we go. And also, I think we all know Dr. Joseph Bayetta, our superintendent of the Stoughton schools. And off on this side, I'd like to go through the list. We have Samantha Rigo, our acting town clerk. Also from the clerk's office, Susie Gross. Katie Fogarty. We have Elizabeth or Biz Selesky, our town accountant. We have the chair of the finance committee, Vaughn Enochian. And we have the vice chair of the finance committee, John Anzavino. And I, of course, is Bob Mullen, your favorite town moderator. Nice to see everybody. Oh, thank you. And I also I'd like to introduce, I don't know where she's hiding, Carmel Drews, our deputy town moderator. All right, now I asked that, are there any town meeting reps that need to be sworn in with the oath of office this evening? Anybody, just show your hand, we'll get you sworn in. All right, I'm going to ask Acting Town Clerk Samantha Rigo.
Sorry to put y'all on the spot, but you got to stand. Just the people who need to be sworn in. Raise your right hand. When I'm done saying words, you just say I do, okay? Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of town meeting representative according to the terms of the town charter, bylaws of the town of Stoughton, and the general laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? I do, yay! Thank you.
All right, congratulations to those folks. We appreciate everybody for coming this evening and participating in the town meeting process. Next, we have to talk attendance. We have to ascertain whether we have a quorum to proceed with both the special town meeting this evening and the annual town meeting. And Kevin Halleck, could you have the janitor bring down the screen so we can get that ready? Thank you, Sam. All right, I'm going to call out the precinct chairs, and I ask you, hopefully you got a count of your precinct members present. And then we need a couple minutes at the end for the town clerk, the acting town clerk, to calculate the numbers. First off, precinct 1, Juan Fox. 12. That's precinct 1 is 12. Precinct 2, George Delinsky. 16 for precinct 2. Precinct 3, Matthew Callis. 16 for precinct 3. Precinct 4, Julie Gito. 21 for precinct 4. Precinct 5, Carmel Drews. 16, precinct 5. Precinct 6, Bob Kirby. 17 for precinct 6. Precinct 7, Diane Dolan. 16, precinct 7. 16. And David Sheehan, precinct 8. 19. Okay, we need a few minutes for the town clerks to tally the number of the town meeting reps present in this auditorium. Okay, you want to provide us with the official count?
133 reps are in attendance right now.
Thank you, Samantha Rigo. There's 133 town meeting reps here, and the quorum for this town meeting is 85. So we now have enough representatives present. I declare a quorum is present with 113. All right, first order of business will be to test our clickers. Now this is, we got to wait for the screen to come down. He's on his way. Okay. Okay, as the screen comes down, You should all have your clickers, and this is a very easy process. We're going to make it very simple this evening. We're going to ask you to press either 1, 2, or 3. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 abstain. It's whatever your choice is. We just have to get ready as the screen comes down. Anticipation. Okay, I'm told there's a sheet that was handed out or given to everybody as you came in. They explain the clickers, self-explanatory. If you have any questions, now is the time to raise your hand about the clickers. Yeah, wait till Mr. Scott Corral mentioned I should just remind everybody, don't start until I say the words, please begin voting now. Okay? Are we ready, Sam? Let me know if you're ready. We're ready. Please begin voting now. 1, 2, or 3. Well, time limit is when we say you're done, you know. Is there a clock there? Where's the clock? I don't see it. Okay, it's done. Hopefully 103, 16, and 11. Missing 3, well, maybe they didn't vote. All right, anybody have any problems with their clicker? No, does anybody have a problem with their clicker? Hearing none. Miss Janice Sweeney? Shiner, I'm sorry. It timed out on you. Okay, is that? That could happen, but the clicker's working, correct? Okay, your clicker is working. Oh, you're welcome. All right, so at this time, we're going to proceed to the procedural motions. Is there a question, please? Could you speak up nice and loud? All right. Did you see your number flash?
If you see it on your clicker in front of you, then it's passed.
Oh, why don't you come on down front? We'll take a look at it. You want to vote again? That's okay. No, now's the time to resolve the issues. Yeah, just see the acting town clerk, and she's going to take a look at your system, your clicker. Okay, just got to remind myself I have to give this microphone a moment to activate. All right, now we're going to go to the procedural motions. And as you can see, our deputy moderator, Carmel Drews, is taken to the microphone. All right, deputy moderator, can you please read the first motion? And then I'm going to ask people by voice vote for a second. And then we're going to just say by voice vote to approve it or no. I'm going to take a vote on each one by voice vote. Go ahead, Carmel.
Move to open the annual town meeting on May 6th and then suspend the annual town meeting to open the special town meeting and hear special town meeting articles 1 and 2 as the first order of business at the May 6th session of town meeting.
Seconded by John Ian Zavino. By voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Hearing none. It's unanimous. Carmel, please do number 2.
Move to have the following articles heard as the first order of business at the Wednesday, May 8th session of the annual town meeting. Article 12, collective bargaining articles, police superior officers. Article 13, fund the CBA for Patrolmen's Union. Article 49, civil service revocation.
Is there a second? Second again by John Inzavino. Okay, by voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? I declare that a vote. It's unanimous. Go ahead, Carmel, number 3.
Move to have the following article heard as the first order of business, that should say articles, the first order of business at the Wednesday, May 15th session of the annual town meeting. Article 26, Pratt's Court water treatment improvements. Article 45, zoning bylaw amendment, Stoughton Center District, Section 9.3.4 SCD, Table of Use Regulation. Article 46, zoning map amendment. Article 47, zoning bylaw amendment, proposed industrial-2, quote, I-2, zoning district, Section 2-1, establishment of zoning districts, Section 9.3.4 SCD, Table of Use Regulations, and zoning map amendment proposal 12, zoning district. Article 53, rezone map 54, lot 433 from RU, residential urban, to GB, general business, petitioned article.
Excuse me, John? Okay, proposed industrial -2, I2. Is that what you're saying? Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, take that clarification. Okay, you accept that, Carmel?
Yes, did I
Okay, thank you.
miss something? Yeah.
Okay, there was second. Is there a question on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, of course.
Please identify yourself, please.
Eric Coleman, Precinct 5. On our calendar, it says this would be the 6th session if needed, and the 20th was also if needed. So are we kind of pessimistic on this?
Well, I'm never pessimistic, but I think, we're just planning accordingly. Right.
This is for the 15th.
Yeah, we can always advance them.
Okay.
Eric, we can always advance the articles if we're flying through this town meeting. More than happy to advance the articles. All right, the motion was moved and seconded by voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. I declare that a vote. Go ahead, Carmel, number 4.
Move to have the following article heard as the first order of business at the Monday, May 20th session of the annual town meeting. Article 37, Hebrew Senior Life Affordable Housing Project Support Funds.
Seconded by John Inzavino. All right, it's been moved and seconded. I don't see any hands. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? I declare that a vote. It's unanimous. Go ahead, Carmel, number 5.
Move to have the following article heard as the first order of business at the Wednesday, May 22nd session of the annual town meeting. Article 32, Police Station Expansion and Renovation Design.
Second.
Seconded by John Inzavino. All right, I don't see any hands. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? I declare that a vote. It's unanimous. Number 6, Carmel.
Move to dispense with the reading of the warrant and the return thereof.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. It's unanimous. Let's move on. Carmel, number 7.
Move that no motions for reconsideration of any budget amount shall be in order until all departments have been initially voted.
Second.
Seconded by John Inzavino. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. Declare that a vote. Let's move on. Carmel, number 8.
Move that amendments or substitute motions for an article other than the operating budget be considered only if in writing, and further, that any proposed substitute motions or complex amendments be delivered in writing to the town moderator 48 hours in advance of the session at which the motion is to be made. Motions to be emailed to the moderator at bmullen@stoughton-ma.gov and a copy to the acting town clerk at srigo@stoughton-ma.gov.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Okay, I hear the ayes have it though, but thank you for your voting. It's not unanimous, but it passes. Okay, number 9, Carmel,
Move to act on the articles as printed in the town warrant.
seconded by John Inzavino. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? It's unanimous. Declare that a vote. Number 10, Carmel,
Move that no reconsideration of any article take place until the last article has been completed at town meeting.
seconded by John Inzavino. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? I declare that a vote. It's unanimous. Okay, and the final one, number 11, Carmel.
Move that town meeting does not take up any new business after 10:30 p.m.
Okay, it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Declare that unanimous, and that's a vote. Great job, Carmel. Thank you very much. Yeah, those procedural motions obviously just helps the business at hand during town meeting during the next couple of nights. All right, so that in those procedural motions, it said that we'll open the annual town meeting, and then we suspend the annual town meeting according to those procedures. Now we open the special town meeting, and we're going to hear the first article up. Is there a hand? Please rise and stay. Oh, the Wi-Fi password. Okay, that reminds me of a couple things. Thank you. Oh, yeah, no, there's a couple of important things. Yep, I was going to get to that. Thank you. Please silence your cell phones. All right? Please turn down your cell phones. I'm not going to tell you to turn them off because we're all waiting for special calls from somebody, I'm sure, but turn them down. Also, the Wi-Fi password. B Nights, all lowercase. Okay, so let's see if everybody gets in. B Nights. Lowercase B Nights, Knights. Student. User is student. Okay, everybody okay now? Okay, a couple other, before we get right into the first motion. We're all here to do the town's business. That's like we do every town meeting, whether it's a special annual. We all work together. We have different opinions. That's fine. We're here to show that this town, we can work together, get things done. And this is true form of democracy. We can debate the articles. We might be on different sides of the article, but when it comes down to vote, we all take the vote, and the results are the results. We have to live with the results. All right, so let's work together. Let's not argue and fight and scream at each other. Certainly don't scream at the moderator, okay? That's the number one rule. So we're going to conduct ourselves in a professional manner as much as possible. Thank you for understanding. All right, so, but now we're in the special town meeting, and we turn to page 15. Article 1 in your books, Elementary School Building Project. I'm going to ask Town Council, Steve, for a second. Steve, 1 second. I'm going to ask Town Council to make a brief statement. Okay, Mr. Cavey, I'm going to ask you to put on the floor the substitute motion or the amended motion. It'd be easier, we go right to that. It's only a couple word changes.
This is an updated main motion.
Well,
Correct. This is an updated main motion. There were some typographical errors in it and some additional legal language that was required for it. But I think that fixing typographical errors we wouldn't normally have a main motion with a typo, only to then amend it.
it is an amended motion. Let me just explain. This will be the main motion. It's only a couple word changes at the very end of the motion. That's true. We can spend a lot of, here's the situation. We could spend a lot of time going through the motion in the book. I'm just being very transparent. In cases where there's a lot of word changes, I would say, let's put the main motion on the floor from the book. In this case, unfortunately, we can't show the whole motion.
I assume that no standing committees will be reading their motions on any of the money articles because you're going to do the amended motion as the main motion. Is that true?
Right. We're just conferring with town council here.
So we could just change motion.
I'm going to allow that to go with the amended motion, just for time. Like, because it's only a couple word changes, and we'll go through it.
That's fine. Makes a
Okay.
big difference.
All right, Mr. Cavey?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Bear with me, this is a long one. I move that the town of Stoughton appropriate the amount of $113,407,888 for the purpose of designing, constructing, originally equipping, and furnishing a new K-5 elementary school, and undertaking any and all related site development on town-owned property located off Park Street in Stoughton, shown as parcel numbers 007-002-0, 065-133-0, and 076-00-0 on the Town of Stoughton Assessor's Map to replace the existing South School and all incidental and related expenses, the project, pursuant to okay, can you hear me again? Pursuant to the construction contract procured in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 9, or a contract utilizing construction management at-risk delivery method in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 149A, as determined by the South Elementary School Building Committee, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, and for which the town may be eligible for a school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA. Said amount be expended under the direction of the South Elementary School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The town of Stoughton acknowledged that the MBTA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the town incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town of Stoughton. Provided, therefore, that any grant the town of Stoughton may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of, number one, 65.98% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or number two, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, provided that any appropriation hereunder shall be subject to and contingent upon affirmative vote of the town to exempt the amount required for the payment of interest and principal on said borrowing for the limitation on taxes imposed by Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21C, Proposition 2.5, and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the town of Stoughton and the MSBA, or take any other action relative thereto. This is also exempt from Article 70 from the annual town meeting of May 1st, 2023, known as the Sunset Bylaw.
Okay, Peter Murphy, did you second it? Okay, the motion has been moved by Mr. Cavey, seconded by Peter Murphy. All right, now I'm going to ask Town Council Brian Winter to make and a little bit of an explanation to us. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and through you to the meeting. I'd like to address that last sentence that's in bold. You're going to see this repeated a few times, and so I asked for a point of personal privilege to address it at the top of the meeting. I may have to repeat this once or twice if we have new members come, but I wanted to explain why that's in there. And it's because we're facing kind of an extraordinary situation that we just learned of on May 2nd. That's this past Thursday. We had a conversation with our outside financial team, including bond counsel, and the outtake from that conversation is that the sunset article that this town meeting passed last year creates problems for bond counsel when it comes to our borrowing ability, our authorization. And what we were informed is that they would not be comfortable writing an opinion that the borrowing is good with the sunset article out there. And so we were left with this knowledge outside of that conversation, and we decided to, and this is with their advice and consent, do the best thing we could do under the circumstances, which was to exempt some of these articles that include borrowing or appropriations that trigger the sunset provision. And the reason we do that is because we won't get the money from bond counsel approved if this language doesn't appear in there. And so we just learned this. We're responding to it as quickly as we can, and we'll take other steps going forward. I want to mention one last thing. This is not any kind of referendum on the sunset policy. This is not a response to the merits of what town meeting adopted last year. This is a response to the comments that we learned from bond counsel on Thursday. And in the 48 hours since then, we had to figure out a solution so that if town meeting passes this article, we still get our money. If that language isn't in there and it passes, bond counsel won't approve it. No project, no money. So that's why that's in there. That one little phrase means a world of difference to our outside financial team. So I may have to address this because you'll see it again with other articles, but I wanted to address the meeting right off the top so everybody understood where that was coming from. So thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Town Council, Brian Winter. All right, let me just kind of recap our process. Each article is moved by, by someone, like in this case, Steve Cavey, was seconded by one of the town meeting reps. Generally, we have standing committee reports, but since these standing committees, this article has been changed, and the standing committees did not have a chance to look at these amended motions. So I agree that we're not going to read the standing committee reports and all these different articles, okay? They're in the book if you want to take a look at them, but we're not going to read them. You have a point of order, John? Could you identify yourself,
If
please?
you'd allow me. John Anzavino, Precinct 4. I just have a question on the statement that was just made. We had 24 articles that had revised motions to include this language.
We're just talking one. We're just talking this one now.
He said he might have to bring it up. I want to just try and clear this out. We have one article that you're asking for this, which the sunset, if bond counsel says they're not going to do it, you have a problem, even though the sunset article will allow it to go well beyond what we were told it would take to build it. But you had 24 articles have this added. Only 4 of them were borrowing. Why was that added to all cash articles or retained earning articles?
We can address that at the appropriate time when we get to those articles. But right now, let's just focus on this one. You can bring that up again.
So we have nothing from bond counsel other than that. We're being told you had a conversation with them that said they would not issue bonds to borrow this money. When did bond counsel get all these motions? Because these are all supposed to go in well ahead of time. That's the question I have. Our own town council is supposed to review them, and bond counsel was supposed to have reviewed them before we heard them at the finance committee. So can you answer why they weren't done?
Do we have an answer on that? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Winter. Press the button there.
Mr. Moderator, through you to the meeting, I can't answer when bond counsel received them initially. That is the process. that my office as well as others review them, and then they're transmitted to bond counsel. What I can tell you is that the first we ever heard of this from bond counsel was May 2nd, Thursday at about 11:30. So I can't speak to what they knew or didn't know before that, but I, as well as others, attended that meeting, and that was the first time we heard it.
All right, that's the answer. We have a, please rise to the microphone, please identify yourself. Now, I don't want to get bogged down on this. I'm just letting everybody know because we need to get moving here, but go ahead. You have to give it a
Yeah,
second.
I won't bog you down.
No, I'm not saying you, I'm
That's
just
okay.
saying the whole process.
Lisa Lyons, Precinct 2. I also have the concerns that John just brought up, but back to Mr. Winter, if I may. I heard you say that the bonding won't get approved. What I didn't hear you say, and my question is did they say why? Because when people tell us things, we like to know the reason why.
Okay, Elizabeth, can you identify yourself to the meeting?
Yes, sir, Mr. Moderator. My name is Elizabeth Zaleski. I'm the Finance Director for the town of Stoughton. This came up rather quickly on Thursday as we are continuing on borrowing. When we go to borrow, that is when the certified town meeting minutes go to our bond council. So this article, as written, has not gone to bond council just to confirm the language of the borrowing. Once we go to bond council, it's a significant process where we get a requirements letter that says we met all the requirements of the borrowing. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to preserve the integrity of all of these articles that we have going in right now until we can get a handle on the sunset clause, what it means to ongoing articles and to the articles right now. So it's preserving these articles as intended. Thank you.
All right, hold, Lisa, hang on. Mr. Scardino, please identify yourself to the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Joe Scardino, Precinct 1. My question is, being an attorney, we all know that we all have our own opinions. Why, when you got such a major impact on town meeting articles, 24, was that right, Mr. Ansby? Why wasn't it researched or given to another attorney to find out if this is a prevailing view or somebody's wanting to be overly comfortable about something? And, so my question is, why wasn't this sent out to additional counsel to have reviewed?
All right, Mr. Scardino, I'll see if I can get an answer for you. Now, don't forget, it's not the moderator. I'm just trying to keep this process moving. I'm trying to get the answers for you. All right, I don't know if I can get that answered. Anybody? Okay, Mr. Town Council, go ahead.
And again, Mr. Moderator, through you to the meeting, the opinion that we were given was from bond counsel, and Lockwood is this town's bond counsel. It's a very niche market as to who provides these opinions to the outside financial team, and they're one of the only ones in the state, and they are the bond counsel for the town of Stoughton. So I agree with the speaker's comment that attorney opinions are just opinions, but theirs counts a lot because they're the ones that write the opinion to the lenders and say whether or not it's good borrowing or not good borrowing. So Lockwood is the firm that we have to get approval from when we go out. And so that's the opinion we sought, and that's the opinion we received.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, do you have one more point? I don't want to go around to the same people, but if you make it quick, because I have others.
So again, Elizabeth didn't answer the why. Why is bond counsel concerned about the sunset clause? No one's answering that question. All I hear right now is we are just taking the stance of an abundance of caution to get it passed through bond counsel. But as town meeting reps, what I'm hearing from everybody is we would like to know why. And I'm hearing we just don't know that answer yet. That's concerning. And that's it.
All right. We have, okay, Mr. Calder? Push it up towards you. takes a moment.
That's why he's an able assistant. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I want to put it in the simplest of terms. There's the Attorney General and there's bond counsel. Bond counsel is the people with the money. The Attorney General gave us an opinion that went to bond counsel. Bond counsel informed us as late as Thursday at 3:20 that they have major concerns about these 25 articles that have borrowing in them or even appropriations. We immediately reached out to the Attorney General's office. Multiple emails at, well, after 5 by then on Thursday and all day Friday. We then met with counsel and everybody involved for 4 hours on Friday. Could not reach anybody at the AG's office to see if we could get clarification. That we got some today that's very favorable. But bond counsel made their position clear. If you don't add this language, we are not lending you the money. Now, we disagree with them, but we can't just argue with the bank. We've got to prove to them the basis on which we, and now we believe, although I won't speak for them, the Attorney General will agree with us. So that's the situation we found ourselves in. So we tried to find a way, as Elizabeth said, to preserve the articles that are in the warrant today for borrowing or for appropriation. We're dealing with the old stuff. The hang-up here, without getting into it, is they're looking to apply the sunset clause back 3 years, retroactive, to 140 projects. This is an incredible amount of work to close out those that should be closed out in time, and for those that can't be closed out are encumbered or the contract goes beyond the 3 years, like Park Street, like this project. So there are a number of, for all we know, and I'm not trying to be flippant here, you could have had an intern draw up this opinion and give us no time to respond to it. And we tried all day Friday, half of Saturday. We tried. But bond counsel didn't change their position slightly until discussions today. So the counsel they gave us to add on that sentence allows you to take this vote knowing that it will be funded. To close the loop, we called the petitioner, Peter Murphy, in to see us today. And in the spirit of transparency, explained to Peter in great length what's occurring here and why. And I'll leave Peter's remarks to Peter, but I hope that provides some insight. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Coulter. Okay, Peter Murphy, please identify yourself to the meeting, please.
Peter Murphy, Precinct 2, the author of Article 70, Annual Town Meeting, last year. The idea of this article was to clear up money that was left over in the books. To get into these issues, I'm not going to go back and forth. Tom and I had a long conversation this afternoon. But referring back to the original article, it says that once an article has been approved, unless stipulated as part of the article, you can put that into an article that it's excluded from the sunset clause. So right now, to move town meeting along, not to hold things up, Tom and I have come to an agreement with also the attorney that we will clarify this for the bond counsel. So we don't want to hold up town meeting any longer than necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Next up is Mr. Coleman.
Eric Coleman, Precinct 5. The charter says that the Rules Committee assigns articles to the standing committees, and the standing committees did their work. So I think you still should read the opinions of the standing committees, and you can say that these were before this particular sunset provision was put in. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, but we're not going to read the standing committee reports. I appreciate your comments, Eric. Thank you very much. Who's next? Mr. Zemanian, please identify yourself, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mark Semanian, Precinct 1. Through you to council or whoever can answer this, quite a few of these articles were cash articles. I'm not going to pretend to understand what all goes on with bond counsel. However, all of the CPC articles, except for one, which gave specifics on how that money would be borrowed at the time. We have a substitute motion that will switch it to cash, but needless to say, I'm still confused as to A, why bond counsel would look at cash articles, and B, why the CPC wasn't brought into that meeting to discuss this, where it affected all of our articles.
Thank you, Mr. Zemanian. But right now, we're just on this special Article 1. Let's stay focused on that one right now. When we get to the CPC articles, we can answer that question again. Okay, anybody else before we move on? All right, thank you all. All good questions. There's never a bad question. And, we're just trying to be as transparent as possible. I just want to quickly go over the process here for those new people at town meeting. The presenter of the article has up to 10 minutes to present the article. Then is followed by technical question period, 2 questions per town meeting rep. And then that's followed by pro and con debate. Town meeting reps have up to 3 minutes to provide their pro and con comments. And no cross debate, please. And then, if needed, the presenter of the article has up to 3 minutes as a summary. So at this point in time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to TJ Recupero as the presenter of this article. Mr. Recupero, please introduce yourself and the other people who may appear at the microphone with you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And through you to your members, I'm TJ Recupero, and on behalf of 13 other members on the school building committee, I am pleased to come before you this evening to present to you our solution to South School deficiencies that were first identified and cataloged going back 14 years to the 2010 Facilities Master Plan. Over the last 12 months, we have studied a full range of options: location, education programming, building layout, styles, materials, neighborhood fit, community impact. We evaluated both long and short-term costs. We also evaluated the cost of doing nothing at all. All of these considerations were weighed and balanced against each other, not in a vacuum, and all with a broad community impact in mind, not just one building. The end product is the committee's recommendation for problems that are now 14 years older than when they were first identified. They were probably existing before then. First time we cataloged them was 2010. It's also part of a larger education plan for the elementary schools in this town. And it puts our elementary schools on solid footing for the foreseeable future. Our youngest school right now, outside of this building, this wonderful building we're sitting in right now, is now 53 years old. That's our youngest school. The South School is 65 years old. Just a matter of perspective, the article that was up on your screen a few minutes ago asked this town meeting to guarantee to the MSBA that the school we build will have a useful life of 50 years. Our buildings right now are beyond that, so we couldn't recommend something in a vacuum. Over the last year, we went out into the community in as many ways as possible through 19 building committee meetings, 7 public forums, 5 public forums dedicated just to consolidation of our schools. We advertised publicly, paid advertisements, social media, mailings. In every way possible, we tried to reach out to the community because it was our duty, at least that's how we saw it, to come before this town meeting with a recommendation that provided the best solution to a South School problem in the most cost-efficient way, and it did it where it maximized the benefit of the funds that you will appropriate that we're asking you to appropriate this evening. So at that, that's a 30,000-foot view. People more qualified than I will tell you exactly how we accomplished that. And the first, I'm pleased to say, is Joe Baeta. Dr. Joe Baeta, excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you, TJ. Good evening, Joe Baeta, Superintendent of Schools. Could move to the next slide, please? I'm not going to read slides because I think it's one of the most unprofessional things to do, but as you can see, the timeline has been pretty thorough throughout this project, going from feasibility to schematic design and budget, which was just improved at the MSBA Board of Directors meeting in April, and now through coming to you tonight, and then June, with a favorable vote tonight, then a June 11th vote of the citizens of the town. Next slide, please. So when you look at elementary education, you have to look at it from a number of different perspectives: the academic, the social, and the well-being of students, the educators, the staff, and in this case, also the community at large. This proposal is the first 21st century elementary school for Stoughton. A new building does bring new opportunities for teaching and for learning. This includes everything from furniture and technology to the academic offerings such as STEM or science, technology, engineering, and math classrooms, an opportunity for academic collaboration, group dynamics, and students teaching students with project-based learning and real-world problem solving, with classrooms that are sized correctly and adequate gymnasium, cafeteria, and presentation spaces. Research is clear, and it notes that students today need further collaboration with each other and with others who may be different from them. This building will provide for equitable new spaces for special education and English language learners. We don't need to redesign more classroom spaces in buildings built prior to the federal IDEA special education law. The individual attention of today's learners is a priority for all students within our district, including supporting the whole child from reading, writing, and arithmetic to the socialization, the wellness, both physical and health education opportunities in the buildings, outside the building, with new courts, new fields, friendly walkabout areas, and all within a safe campus with state-of-the-art technology for learning and safety. Next slide. It is important to recognize the short-term and long-term improvements for Stoughton Public Schools. Next slide, please. I also want to mention that the Stoughton School Committee, past and current, have undertaken a long-term plan for elementary education in Stoughton. This includes, with a positive vote tonight and at the ballot box, closing the South School and repurposing the Wilkins Elementary School as a preschool early childhood center and other alternatives. Before you this evening is an opportunity for the children of Stoughton, the community at large, and as a whole, for our future. Please welcome Carl Franceschi of DRA for the next slides.
That's correct. Thank you, Mr. Murray. Carl Franceschi with DRA for the design team. I want to assure you that the design team did look at numerous sites in the town before settling on the proposal before you tonight. For various reasons, the Line Lumber site became the only site suitable for further investigation along with the existing South Elementary School site. Next slide. We did look at, on the Line Lumber site, a number of different configurations for a new building, and on the existing South Elementary School site, we looked at both addition, renovation, and a new school possibility on that property. And again, we developed a list of criteria to evaluate these options objectively, which included not just cost, but educational vision, longevity, and a sort of plain, simple word, value. And the best value for the community was the so-called pinwheel design on the Line Lumber site. Next slide. This is a site plan of the school on that property. Hopefully you've had a chance to, on either the website or some other forums, to see the design in more detail, but the short of it is that the new site does offer significant improvements over the existing South School site, much better circulation. It separates buses from cars. It has significant queuing area to get cars off of the street and avoiding backups. It has outdoor recreational possibilities and has significant community amenities too in terms of parking and outdoor playing fields for both the students and for adults. There is, for instance, basketball and pickleball courts associated with the development. Next slide. And then just to show you quickly, the building that's being proposed is a 3-story building. It's designed specifically to satisfy the educational plan that the school department and the principals involved put together. And the one reason it is 3 stories is to not only be a compact footprint to reduce the impact on the site, but to respond to the desire to separate the lower elementary school students from upper elementary. So the way the wings of the building work, those blue wings are the classroom wings. So on each of the 3 floors, there are 2 classroom wings, kindergarten and first grade, then on the ground floor, and then second and third, and then fourth and fifth on the upper floors. And then the yellow areas, that wing is you might call it the community wing. It has the cafeteria, which is also an auditorium, and the gymnasium, and it has a dedicated entrance. And then the fourth wing is the administrative wing, right by the main entry, to provide good welcoming and supervision and safety for the students involved. It's a very efficient plan. It actually receives a very high percentage of reimbursement from the school building authority for meeting the education program in that regard. And in the end, as we say, we believe it's the best value long-term for the town.
Next slide, please, if you could, Samantha. So we, of course, as part of the MSBA process, we have to give a fair estimate on price. We go out to two independent cost estimators who provide estimates for the cost of construction for this building. We know our MSBA reimbursement rate will be around 42%, resulting in approximately $47 million that the town can count on from the MSBA grant. And we also tried to do as best we could, give an estimate for the cost to the average residential taxpayer. We were conservative from what I've heard since then, consultation with our bond advisor and I think the town accountant. We could probably do better than we estimated. I can tell you this, we can definitely do better on the cost of construction because we have done. This building came in about $5 million under budget, on time, with COVID. We can do it again because we've done it before. And actually, these people are the people that helped us do that.
Excuse me, Mr. Recupero, do you have much more because you're out
We're
of time?
out of time.
Well,
I'm wrapping up in a second.
because we have a timer over here too, an iPhone.
Yeah.
What do you have, an iPhone or an Android?
I'm in an iPhone, and I'm
Oh, we both have iPhones.
just over 10 minutes.
All right, can
I
we
swear
wrap it
I'm
up?
wrapping up.
All right, thank you.
So we'll drill down on these issues in technical questions. I want to say this part, though. One of the things that gnawed on me throughout this process, I have much more to say. We will get to it. One of the things that really gnawed on me is the criticism that we heard that this building was extravagant, too extravagant, as in, why are you being so extravagant? Now, we have to answer that with this sort of technocratic, boardroom-like answer. It's cost-effective. It's the best way to manage these deficiencies and things like that. What I would like to say is, why can't we do nice things? Why can't we have a beautiful building? Because I think this building is damn nice. I think it's good-looking. I think it improves this community, and I hope you do too. So our goal was to solve this South School deficiency and do it in the most cost-efficient manner, and also make something that looks damn nice, that fits into this community, that improves this town. That's how we keep our bond rating on solid footing, by constantly improving our town. I appreciate you people come out and do that every year at annual town meeting. We've tried to do our part to give you a project that helps. And thank you. This will go to, with a favorable vote, a debt exclusion vote. I ask that you consider passing this along to the voters, that they can decide, so that we can broaden the import for this community and let everybody weigh in. Thank you. We welcome your questions.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. All right, at this point in time, we are at the technical question period. If you come down, use a microphone, Pat, wherever, introduce yourself to the meeting. You can line up. We're going to see who's, you're going to kind of bear with us. We're trying to figure out who's in order here. Go ahead, Ms. Colburn.
Pat Colburn, Precinct 4. I just want to verify some numbers. It's my recollection from the library building project that I was on, as well as the high school that I wasn't on, that we have to, again, the infamous bond council, put the motion through for the total amount of the project, which is $113 million and change. We'll get the grant money from the MSBA, so my understanding, I want to make sure it's still correct, is that we will not borrow that full 113. The most we'll borrow is the town's share, which is roughly 64, 65 million, depending upon which number you look at. First of all, is that correct?
That's correct.
So I don't want people to be alarmed that because we're approving 113 million, that we're borrowing 113 million, because we will not. So my second question is the total project minus the grant. I'm looking for verification that there is no way that this town can overspend this project. We take the project number minus the grant, that's what we have left, and there's no way we can legally overspend. We can't just say, hey, we want something else, so let's add another 5 million. Is that accurate?
If we can have an answer to that, I appreciate it.
That's correct. Not without coming back to town meeting.
Thank you. So again, what I'm trying to say to town meeting is we had to borrow, we had to put the motion in for 113. That is not what we will borrow. It will be 65 to 66 million, and we cannot go over budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. All right, I believe Mr. Scardino, you're up next. Followed by Mr. Fox. Mr. Scardino, if you can.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Joe Scardino, Precinct 1. The line item that talks about and all incidental and related expenses, does that figure of 113 plus million include the cost of demolition of the South School?
We could have that answered, please.
I can answer that. That does not. We do have contingency, and that's an option. So once this is taken out of the inventory of school use, it's no longer the school committee's decision to make policy decisions on that building. Last thing I'm going to do is, as a building committee member, recommend that we tear something down before some policymaker, in this case it would be the select board, tells us that's what they want done. So if the select board tells us that and we have contingencies, we can do that. There's a healthy contingency in this project. But right now we haven't enumerated that on a line item. It would come out of contingency.
Okay, thank you.
Follow-up question, Mr. Moderator, for my second question. What kind of expense do we have with respect to these? At one point, the project discussed combining schools, and there was an additional amount, I believe, appropriated for the feasibility study of redistricting that had to do with the combination of schools. If that, in fact, happens, are we going to have those schools have principals and administrative staffs? Is there any staff saving? Number one of that question. Number two is, what about busing?
Go ahead, Mr. Bayetta.
Through you to the gentleman asking the question. In general, we are redistricting regardless of this project's vote. Our increase in enrollment is pretty significant with exceeding or not looking at the migrant student situation. We are seeing enrollment numbers of 80 to 100 students per year. This building, built for 1,080, is at 1,126 and growing. Our projected enrollments for Stoughton Public Schools over the next 10 years is that we'll be very close to 4,200 students. We haven't seen those numbers in quite some years. As it pertains to the building itself, it would have more than likely a principal and assistant principal with somewhere between 515 and 615. And there'd be no additional staffing in terms of general education. Now, as it pertains to special education, I can never give you a direct answer on that because those are decisions that are made within the IEP process. This building does create specialized programming within those buildings, which we now have in all of the buildings as of next year. The idea through the school committee is that the Wilkins Elementary School, which is part of this all redistricting district townwide, is that it would be utilized potentially as a new preschool from the Jones. Part of that has to do with this year's budget. The governor already has $38 million for universal preschool. Universal preschool is on its way, meaning there's no charging to go into preschool, and we see it happening in the next 5 to 7 years, and we will continue to need that space. Third, and lastly, the issue of the Jones. We have the administrative side, and the other thing that we're looking at, and again, we're in the beginning stages, is looking at an alternative education 6 to 12, because of the number of students that we have to find alternative education for outside of special education, usually to do with students with behavioral and or being suspended from school, which can be a cost of $50,000 to $100,000 each.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bayetta. Next. Oh, yeah, there was.
Yeah, so currently, to the question of the busing, we currently haven't gotten into the busing discussions because we don't know what the redistricting is going to look like, who's the furthest, who's the closest. We currently have a no-fee-based transportation, which I believe is going to continue. And so there could be more buses. There could be potentially also less buses, depending on where kids are going and how close they're going to be to their elementary school.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bayetta. Next up is Juan Fox, followed by Lisa Lyons. Go ahead and identify yourself, please.
Juan Fox, Precinct 1. The cost of upgrading the South School was shown to be $34.5 million, but there's no itemization shown. As the school is operating right now, what changes would require $34.5 million? Could you give us the major points and what their cost would be?
I'm just waiting for the microphone to turn on. Just identify yourself, please, again.
Yes, Mr. Moderator. Carl Franceschi with DRA Architects. We did look at so-called base repair of the existing South School to produce comparable numbers to help with the evaluation of these other options. The $34 million or so is the construction cost to essentially correct the deficiencies and bring the school up to standards. It does not add space. It does not change the educational layout or use of the building. The major components in that are sort of all the major building systems, starting with the exterior envelope of the building, which is nowhere near today's standards in terms of energy efficiency and having insulation in the walls and the roof and the windows. So that's a significant cost, the building shell, you might call it. And then the internal infrastructure systems, electrical, mechanical, and plumbing, all of those need to be virtually rebuilt from the street in. And then the building lacks modern fire alarm system, modern fire protection sprinklers too. Those would have to be added. So very significant costs all around. And then there's the really difficult challenge of handicap accessibility in that building. For those who partook in the tour last week, you could appreciate the steepness of the ramps that have attempted to make the building handicap accessible, but certainly elevators and lifts and reconstructing some of those hallways is also part of it. So it adds up to be a fairly extensive number. And in fact, the $34 million is a cost sort of in today's dollars. We didn't actually project it into the detail of how would it be done. You know, how would school continue to be operated there? How many modular classrooms would need to be used? And what kind of phasing over time? We didn't get into that level of detail. These are sort of just an itemized list of the costs that total 34. So the project costs, in essence, would probably be significantly more than that over the next 5 to 10 years. Hope that answers the question.
Okay, thank you. Your next question, Mr. Warren, if you have one?
Yeah.
Mr. Warren Fox.
Part of the plan is to vacate the South School and to move, based on what I saw during the presentation on last Monday, because I think it was Monday. The plan is to vacate the school, The Jones School is involved with the possibility of the administration moving to the Wilkins School, having and students coming in from who are learning elsewhere, some special needs students to be also coming into the Wilkins School. These are all major costs as well. So what are those costs? What additional things need to be done, which will have to be done if this goes through?
If anybody can answer that for us, appreciate it.
Mr. Moderator, through you to the gentleman asking the question. Currently, we have a feasibility subcommittee that provided the school committee on April 23rd 3 options, all of which require some funding at some point. One is to close the South Elementary School and move the Jones Preschool to the Wilkins, as I mentioned earlier, and then look at the alternative education program, which, by the way, would be limited cost because we're already paying out for students to go elsewhere. And there'd be no change to the administration. And option 2 is to close the South Elementary School, move the Jones Preschool program to the Wilkins, and consider a kindergarten classroom where the new South would also have kindergarten classes per the new design, but you'd have an early childhood center where all the kindergarten would go to the Wilkins, along with the preschool, and to develop what's called an early childhood center. This would also create more classroom spaces at the elementary schools, both the Hanson, the Daw, and the Gibbons, because you'd be moving the Ks where there's currently a need, and then the Jones Elementary would continue to house administration and potentially an alternative education as slated earlier. And option 3 is to close the South Elementary School and move the Jones Preschool program to the Wilkins Elementary along with the administration, and close the Jones Elementary School as well, and that would have a cost. In general, the movement that we have from the Jones to the Wilkins is predominantly operational, because we're talking about some toilets that we have to change out and all of that stuff, and then it's just moving all of our furniture. Technology is already there because the new school gets all of the new technology and so on and so forth. And potentially there's always a staff increase because the preschool is mandated for students who have disabilities, and so if we have to start a new program because of the numbers are there, there's a cost that we have to absorb with that. So that's the general take.
Thank you, Dr. Bayard.
As part of my question that wasn't answered, is there any cost? Is there any quantity defined for that?
No, there is none at this time. The idea behind it would be it'd be part of a decision that the school committee will have to make over time. If this gets approved, the citizens vote for it, then we start the process of A, redistricting discussions, and B, what's the final use of these buildings.
Thank you, Dr. Bayard, and thank you, Mr. Fox. Okay, next up is Lisa Lyons. Please identify yourself.
Yes, Lisa Lyons, Precinct 2. So to whomever in leadership on the building committee, or Dr. Bayetta, or anyone else on the building committee, given the paramount preference for 2 fully working entrances for each school, did any leaders suggest a land swap with the current owners of Fano Drive being the location which would allow a fully functional second entrance, excepting using the very small Haynes Road as an emergency exit? So again, did anyone consult with the owners to ask if they were willing to do a land swap? And then if yes, did somebody in our town tell them that we couldn't pursue that because there was not enough time?
So here's what I'm going to answer your question and tell you exactly what happened on Fano Drive, because that's the way it's answered. We reached out to the owners of Fano Drive. Fano Drive is an old railroad bed that runs from Park Street to Sumner Street. It's privately owned. I think there is an argument to be made that there is a public rights in it because it's a former railroad bed. That's an argument we didn't want to get into, so we reached out to the landowners. I can't even count the hours that I spent in discussions, and Dr. Bayeda also, Mr. Bonfatti also, spent any number of hours trying to reach a deal. The deal was, in its infancy, was we will pave Fano Drive end to end for access for us and for your use as well, to an estimated cost of about $7 million, by the way. Am I right about that? To an estimated cost of about $7 million. The building community doesn't have land to swap away. That's for some other policymaker to come up with. We have a timeline, we have deadlines for sure. We have goals, we could meet those goals, and we had to because we had a deadline in December. And, I'll tell you straight out, I tried any number of ways to keep, and I think I still have possibilities where, have kept possibilities where we could go back to the landowner, and if we can reach some sort of accommodation backwards and forwards, we can still hopefully utilize all or a portion of Fano Drive. I don't think that's the landowner's goal. I can't speak to that. All I can tell you is we tried damn hard to cut some sort of deal. Whether it was a land swap, that's on them. That's their interest, I'm sure. Our goal was to build a school and to do it in the most cost-efficient manner. $7 million for that road. They weren't asking us for $7 million. That was what it would cost us to pave that roadway end to end. It's about a mile long, I think, right? A little bit less than a mile long. That's the whole story, top to bottom. So if you want to talk to somebody else on some other board who has land to swap, sure, we'll work with whoever.
It's my understanding we did go to the landowners and offered a swap, and then it was dropped. So
not this building committee.
I didn't say the building committee.
Excuse me, let the moderator just jump in. Let's not cross-talk, let's not cross-debate. Lisa, do you have a second question?
Yeah, I just want to, confirm, I'm not saying it was just the school committee.
Hold it. You asked a question. I'm just trying to be fair here. You asked a question, it was answered. You have a second question?
Yeah, so the second question is, did Mr. Barry Crimmins, who was the lawyer on this, and or his associate suggest to the owners, the landowners, that their land, their road was worth $3 to $4 million?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. No idea at all. And that's a matter between attorneys and their clients, and it would be inappropriate for me to even discuss it.
Okay. This, again, goes back to the concern of having two fully operational entrances into a school. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is Ms. Becca Moxon. Please identify yourself, please.
Becca Markson, Precinct 7. My question is to anybody who can answer this. What happens if town meeting does not approve this tonight for it to go forward? What are the repercussions of that?
Page 21. It tells you on page 21.
Excuse me, Mr. Banis, you're out of order.
Thank you.
Please don't answer the questions unless we're directing them to you. Thank you. Can someone answer Ms. Becca Moxon's question?
Well, that was part of the slideshow that I didn't get to, but it's a good question. So you heard the estimate to bring things up to code and repair is about 35 million in that range, probably more. The project, if we don't get funding secured within 120 days from the vote that MSBA took, the project is stale, and if we wanted to do something to solve this South School problem, it goes back in the queue. We probably would come up again at some point with a different proposal, perhaps this one again, I don't know. We'd be out of the queue and we'd still have a problem to face. Does somebody else want to fill in the blanks that I left? There's still a problem. Even if we wanted to do things piecemeal, I think Carl will tell you this too. So you have a building, let's say we just wanted to do insulation or windows, and let's say that value hits 30% or more of the total school value. That triggers a whole slew of other expenses to bring the entire building up to code, at least on accessibility. So doing it piecemeal isn't an option either. And I'll leave somebody else to fill in blanks that I left. But
I think the short answer is obviously if the town doesn't approve it, you lose the $47 million grant from the state. The cost to repair, the building committee, the town would really have to regroup to define a project more specifically. As I mentioned earlier, the $34 million estimate or so is an estimate of construction costs kind of without the context of how it would be achieved. We'd have to think about renting modular classrooms and phasing the project and when could it be done, and coming back to town meeting for an appropriation of some, significant amount. Maybe not all 34 million at once, or it might be some other number, but the estimate is anticipated, or the deficiencies need to be addressed over the next 5 to 10 years. So it's hard to give a specific answer as to what does a no vote mean. Basically, it means you need to regroup and rethink the project, or a project for South School.
I think we answered that question.
Sure.
Did you want to? Okay. I don't want to just keep it going. I think it was answered.
I think we all know what the South School looks like. Think about its geography, its landscape. We have an old building that's outdated. Check the box. Here's the issue. Where am I putting students while I'm doing all of this work? Modulars. Where are those modulars going? They're not going at the South School because there's no space there to put it. So that means we're moving kids to the Daw and the Gibbons into modulars while we're doing all that work. That would be my recommendation to the school committee. And that's transportation costs through the roof. And by the way, modulars today are not the $1 million we paid at OMS when I was on the school committee. They're 10 times that.
Thank you, Dr. Diana. You all set, Mecca? Yep. Okay. Please identify yourself. I don't know your name. Could you?
I'm Christine Wilbur, Precinct 8.
Hi, Christine Wilbur, Precinct 8.
I'm just wondering, in that 113 million, are things like furniture and new equipment, is that all inclusive in that?
All inclusive.
Awesome. Also thinking about energy and efficiency and operating costs. It sounds like you kind of talked about operating savings or possibility moving. Can you talk a little bit about the energy efficiency of the new building comparatively to like the South School and the Jones, and where we'll get some cost savings, I'm assuming?
This building will be a very energy efficient, environmentally sensitive project, as required by all new projects funded by the School Building Authority. But we're going over and above, in a sense, just basic green building in order to achieve additional reimbursement to get that grant to where it is from the state. They offer 4 additional reimbursement points on the town's rate, and it won't cost that additional money to get there. The building will be an all-electric building, no fossil fuels. It will have the ability to have solar panels on the roof. It will receive some of its energy from geothermal wells and be off the grid. So there's tremendous rebates available now too. And the numbers that are being quoted and the town share that's included in the project cost right now is exclusive of those rebates. So there's very high probability that the town share will go down, because we have high confidence that you could get those rebates, both from the utility company, National Grid, and from the federal money for, what's it called, the Inflation Reduction Act, that really supports things like geothermal wells. So in that sense, it'll be highly insulated, low energy costs. So not only does the town benefit with lower initial costs, but lower operating costs for the life of the building.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up is Carolyn Campbell. Please introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Campbell, Precinct 4. I have 2 quick questions. First, what is the RISE program? There was a mention of the RISE classroom up there, and I was just curious.
We have, as you know, numerous educational programs. So what we're looking at is within the autism spectrum, we have students that are, the words low functioning, high functioning used. I hate that phrase. In this particular case, we're looking at high functioning students. It's a program that we started a few years ago. We started to, if you will, separate the students who are more behavioral of an issue versus those that have some social dynamics, as I call it, but academically do pretty well. For example, a 3rd grader at one of our schools with a perfect MCAS score in math. I could never do that. But has other issues where we support them. So that's the component of what we're trying to do pre-K through 12 with all of the specialized classrooms.
Thank you. My second question is, for the building, is it possible, if we need to expand it, is that like being planned for, like a place in a way without major
The building is planned for expansion. The wings of the building could be expanded, and because it's a three-story building, a very small footprint of addition goes up 3 floors. You can add at least 6 classrooms very easily in the future. But the building itself, as proposed, could be the enrollment could be expanded without doing any construction.
Okay.
Because in the classrooms, they're planned for between 18 to 20 students per class. Those could house up to 23 students, for instance, in the same size classroom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Mr. Banis. Please identify yourself, please.
On?
Yep, you're on.
Peter Banis, Precinct 2. I did attend the original first meeting. It was December of 22, and the presentation is wonderful. The concept is all wonderful. I was on school committee in the late 90s, and Dr. Baeta was nice enough to take my slot when I left.
Is there a question there,
The
Mr.
question,
Banis?
yes,
Okay.
the question is, in the presentation, the feasibility study, and I spoke with both of these gentlemen for a long time, I want to know if we ever really took a serious consideration of possibly building the single building, the model school. You explained to me, Dr. Baeta, the model school concept up by the ball field while the school was still running, and do what we did at the high school, and then you can take the building down and move the people. I don't know if we ever considered that, and that was just a possible thing that I don't think got discussed. I never saw that on the first meeting. I did go to the first meeting, and I'm just wondering if that was ever a consideration.
We're required, as part of the feasibility study regulations, to study a model school. The model school program is something that MSBA used to do more. I think Dr. Baeta will tell you, investigating it, that they're downplaying that now, and to the point where it's not really done anymore. But if you go on the MSBA website, you'll see a list of about 35 schools. You can see there's about half of those dedicated to elementary education.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the majority of those are for other education, elementary educational grades than we're proposing, K through 5. You'll see 3 through 6, K through 3. So the trick is to find a plan. We can't just pick any plan off the rack and use it in Stoughton. We have to pick the one that fits our project. Then we have to get it tailored. We need to hire an architect. The expense of doing all that saves nothing. As a matter of fact, I'll go so far as to say doing any single building project, doing anything other than this consolidated project we put in front of you, I can guarantee you, because we've estimated the cost backwards and forwards, will result in a longer-term, more expensive project than what we do today, which is not a cheap project. I'll grant you that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to hit an expense, the same expense, one way or another, whether it's today, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. We'll hit it. We're proposing to do it now.
All right, thank you. The only reason I'm making these points is that I think town meeting, the fiscal responsibility of the folks in town is to keep an eye on the taxpayer.
I need to ask you for the
Okay,
question.
okay.
You can make your comments at the comment section.
In the comment section, okay.
Yes. Do you have
Great.
another question?
I really don't.
Oh, thank
At this
you for
point, I
being
just want to
honest.
know. I just wanted to know that if we ever looked at that concept, the presentation's wonderful. It all seems wonderful. I'm concerned about fiscal responsibility in the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Banis. Appreciate that. Next up, I have Mr. Bob Cohn. Please identify yourself, please. There you go.
Bob Cohn, Precinct 5. I just want to make sure. Mr. Moderator, am I in line to talk anything about financing in this right now?
If you have a question related to financing in this article, you're in
Yes,
line.
I do.
Okay.
Number one is, what is the cost to the taxpayer? How long is the note that's going to be taken out in this? And are we going to exceed our powers down the road? Have we used all our bond options when it comes to money articles coming up? Are we going to be able to borrow?
Okay, can we have the first question one more time? You asked a couple of things there.
What is the cost to the taxpayers of Stoughton? Approximately. I know you can't give it, TJ. Approximately.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the question. It's important, and we should answer it any number of ways possible, because they're all estimates at this point. We don't know what our bond rating will be at the time. We don't know what the market's going to be for the paper that we're going to be selling. We don't know what term it's going to be, because that's a policy decision. We can certainly have input. I can tell you we estimated about $400 per year, about $100 quarterly, at the then current borrowing rate provided to us from our Hilltop Securities, our bond consultant. And we've been through, I think, actually it predates this town manager, but I think Mr. Cavey can attest to. And we've been advised by them with their memoranda throughout. Before we even had a project to show, we were aware what the bonding capacity, what the borrowing capacity was for the town. I mean, it certainly makes it tighter for everybody else in the town. I think it's even tighter still if we don't do this project, which I've tried to make that point, maybe clunky. But so $400 at the current borrowing rate, we calculated it 20 years. I've been told, sort of anecdotally, I wasn't there for the bonding, I forget what it was called exactly. I'm told that it's likely to be less than what we've estimated, which of course was our goal, because we didn't want to come in with something and have to increase it once we found out real numbers. So we overestimated that, and from what I'm told, we were correct to do that.
Okay, thank you. Next question, if you have one. It's not working. Hang on. You're not on the microphone. Hang on a second, Bob. We're going to get you a new microphone. Go ahead, sir.
I question this because the interest rate, I listened to that meeting when the bond lady was here, and it was over 4%, 3.5%, 3.75%, 4% present rate. And don't forget, whatever this comes out, it's either 20 years or 30 years, we're going to pay for this on top of other taxes that are going to be put upon us. Have we exceeded our bond rating? You add up a high school and various other things.
Okay, is that the question?
Yes. Are we going to, number one, someone has an idea of what this interest is. That lady at that meeting, I couldn't attend it, but I watched it. She came out with a number of 3.75 today. Is that going to hold? Can someone answer me? Even the town, can someone answer this to me?
Okay, we go to Mr. Coulter. Do you want to answer it, or do you want to have Biz answer it?
So, I think we have the same answer, Mr. Moderator. The
Go ahead.
financial advisor will quote it at the time that she's selling the paper. It's anybody's guess, inflationary impacts of interest rates, as we all watch every day. What's the Fed going to do with it? But what I do know is the estimate provided by Mr. Recupero is the estimate that was provided by our financial advisor. And in terms of our capacity, the town is very close and up to its capacity inside the levy and has plenty of capacity outside the levy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Does everyone understand what he just said to you? While bond levels are up, we have stuff at this meeting we might have not even able to borrow because we're going to hit our limits.
Mr. Cohen, I think you asked your second question, right? So all due respect, you can come back at the comment section.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Oh, thank you very much. Next up is Janice Esdale. Please identify yourself.
Janice Esdale, Precinct 5. I had a couple of questions for the architect or the representative of the company that's building this. He's still here. My first question, the modular classrooms are very modern, and I just wondered if any of these were presented to the faculty that are going to be responsible for implementing instruction with a whole different way of delivering the education to the students, if they were included when you were planning this? Not sure if I
Can anybody
made
answer that?
myself clear.
I didn't catch the connection to, did you say modular classrooms?
Yes, yes, it's
We're
a
not
whole,
pro-
it's not, they're not regular desks now anymore, right? The way you're presenting it, am I correct in that assumption?
Certainly, we had input from the staff and especially the principals of both the South and the Wilkins School, who also met with their staff to get
Okay,
input
that's
in
all I
writing
wanted to know.
the education plan.
Okay, good.
And the reason this option was selected among the options was because it was the best fit for the education plan.
Okay, good. I wanted to know that. My other question, my husband is a civil engineer, and he wasn't able to be here tonight. But he had a question about the movement of the traffic coming into and out of Park Street. So it's going to be all one way, correct?
It's going to be a two-way drive.
Oh, it is,
coming
okay.
from Park
He
Street,
wanted
yes.
to make sure that when the traffic comes in and goes by the entrance to the school, where students would be dropped off or picked up, that the direction of the car would be such that the kids would be getting out of the car on a safe side rather than getting out with traffic going by. Am I confusing? I'm not a civil engineer.
I
so
understand
just
your question now.
If you're gonna answer that.
The drop-off drive is one way, so that the car is approaching, just as your husband suggests, and dropping off students on the passenger side so they can get out where there's a curb.
Precisely.
And proceed on their way.
He was
yes.
afraid that it was the other way around and it was bothering him, so.
You can reassure him.
Okay, I will. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you. Okay, Mr. Feinberg, I think you're up next. Identify yourself, please.
Arnie Feinberg, Precinct 6. Is the Old South School safe?
If anybody can answer that?
SAFE obviously has varying degrees. It doesn't meet today's standards. Take, for instance, just the entrance into the building. Nowadays, like if you came in the main entrance of the high school tonight, there's a vestibule and there's a transaction window. You can talk directly to someone in the office. That's standard for schools today. That South does not have that. You walk into the lobby, you have to sort of cross over and enter into the office to be welcomed or processed as a visitor and so forth. So in that sense, no, it doesn't meet today's standards. The other schools are being improved to that level. For instance, at the Dawn, the Gibbons, there's been projects to do just that for the vestibules and into the building. So from that point of view, we mentioned the fire alarm system, the lack of sprinklers. So it doesn't meet the current safety standards, but that does not mean it's not safe for occupancy. It certainly met the requirements at the time it was built. It's been maintained for the systems that are there. It's safe, to be occupied, yes.
Second question is, as memory serves me, there's a field adjacent to the school. Why can't modular units be put there?
We did look at that option. Among the options we studied, that field is not exactly very large, and it's not very flat either. It has a slope to it the way the South School property does. So it proved not to be very feasible for either a new school or even the addition to the existing school. It's problematic. It does not have good access for, you can imagine, trying to conduct school and have construction vehicles trying to access that rear parking lot on a daily basis to build a new school or build a major addition. So it was very disruptive.
Thank you. I have other questions, but I'm limiting myself to the two because that still requires discussion.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. Next up, the woman behind you. Can you identify yourself? I'm not aware of your name. I apologize.
Yes, good evening. Marina Ryans,
How do you spell
Precinct 7.
that? Precinct 7?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have two questions. It was mentioned before that the cost can be reduced if the design was maybe simpler and maybe other costs that is included in 113 millions can be more modest than what it is today. So school is very, I don't think that the design actually fits in Stoughton. To me, Stoughton looks humble and the school itself looks very classy. So is it still a case to reduce the cost, let's say significantly?
Anybody answer that for us?
In all ways, there will be unforeseen expenses and costs along the way that we may consider also. What this is this is a cost estimate. Again, two independent cost estimators, what they told us, they reconciled their opinions too and told us what this will cost for what we proposed. I think it's a wonderful school building. I think that it marries both structure and utility with aesthetics. It's also, I can point this out, it's also smaller than the average school being built by the MSBA today, or under the MSBA program today. Yes, it's not the neighborhood school, but this is how schools are being built upwards of 1,000, elementary schools, upwards of 1,000 students. Ours will top off at about 600, and it's still less than the average elementary school in Massachusetts today, which is around 620 students, by the way. So, I mean, and I can add this too. We welcome you to come to our meetings and add input on things like aesthetics and how to improve it. Because although we have a plan, there's still decisions to be made. We welcome, always have, at every meeting, for this school and that school.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Really.
We welcome you to come. Thank you.
Okay, I have a second question.
Sure, go right ahead.
The existing school is 65 years old. So to me, 65 is not an old age. Most of us probably today live in the houses over 100 years old, fully functioning, safe, and, you know, I think school is not old if you look at it inside and out. So my question to you, is there a real urgency to build a new school? So I know that the existing school fully functioning, it's safe, it's being maintained. So is there a real urgency to build a new school?
Can we have an answer? If anybody?
Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
Through
go
you
ahead.
to the gentlewoman asking the question. So this town, in 16 years, built 5 elementary schools in the 50s and the 60s, including renovating buildings. A decision right around 2010, also provided to this body at the time, noted that we wanted to go after a new South School. That was project number 1. But a decision was made to go after the high school because a high school is all welcoming of all students who decide to stay and be part of the 9 to 12 education. And that's what we undertook. If you looked at the rating from both the MSBA today, in 2016 and in 2010, it's rated as I think it's a 1, 2, 3 score, with 3 being low, if I remember correctly. 4. It's rated as a 4 on a 1, 2, 3, 4 scale, of 4 being you need to start to consider replacing this building. So that's one. The second part is we're trying to consolidate a school and eliminating a school, which long-term has more cost benefit to the operating budget of the district, number one. Number two, just think of it this way. The energy savings that we have seen at Stoughton High School, because of its state-of-the-art, it costs me more to heat the Jones School in the wintertime than it does this building today. Just for you to take a building that's 1/5 the size of this one. Just because that's 65 years, I'm 55. I wish I was still 25 because I got a lot of bones that are hurting at 55 right now. But that said, I understand your point. The buildings at that time when it was decided not to spend so much money because the South was coming next. However, the Wilkins, the Daw, the Gibbons, the Hanson, we've got windows that have been put in those schools. We've had upgrades to bathrooms in those schools. Those schools currently just have, quote, better bones than the South School does.
But that's much cheaper than building a brand new school.
So I will say that this is my 5th building project as a superintendent in 15 years. I've done renovation addition, I've done new, and I've done the alternative program now escapes me. Here's the one definitive that happens every time. It's expensive today. It's more expensive tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bayetta.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chet Collins, identify yourself, please. Push it towards you.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Chuck Collins, Precinct 1. On a previous question about the South School being renovated and about the modulators, the modular units that you have to put somewhere, right? And that's going to have a cost. My question is, that I've been asked, is modulators at the new South School, is that in the budget? If you have to move into the Dawes School, the Wilkins School and stuff like that, to build a new South School.
Okay, let them answer if they can.
Well,
Yeah, Mr. Moderator.
I didn't finish my question.
It sounded like you did. I apologize. If you
Okay,
did.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, the question was modular classrooms in the cost of the base repair number, that 34 million?
Yeah, 34 million for renovating the South School and then building new South School. The cost of the modulars, either way you're going to have them. Is that in the new budget?
If you were to pass tonight and at next month's vote to build a new school, there's not a need for modular classrooms.
You have to have modular classrooms. You're not going to have the South School.
No, it won't be abandoned until the new school is completed and occupied, right?
Oh, so you're going to have modulars at South School until the new school is built.
You don't need modulars.
Okay.
If this project proceeds on the timeline that is proposed, it would come online while there's still capacity in the existing other remaining elementary schools.
Okay, so people that talk to me are confused, and I'm confused also. So I apologize, Mr. Moderator.
Not a problem at all, sir. Okay, Mr. Cavey, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just wanted to circle back to a comment by a previous speaker. I just wanted to make a clarifying comment and just also ask the town accountant to verify whether or not what I'm saying is correct. There's a question about whether or not this project could affect our debt limits. And the debt limit exists. I don't want to patronize anybody. I apologize if it comes off that way. But debt limits exist inside of the levy. That is the amount that we're allowed to appropriate through taxes. And that's part of Proposition 2.5. You'll see that listed in Chapter 59, Section 21C. In this article, it specifically asks that we have an affirmative vote to exempt the amount that we're borrowing from that levy, which means that this is not going to impact any debt limits. And I just wanted to make sure that it's clear that that is the money that would be appropriated outside of the levy. And that's what this says. So any discussion about debt limits is really out of scope because this specifically exempts us. This motion exempts us from those limits.
Okay.
But just to clarify, I just would love to have verification from our town accountant that what I've just said is accurate.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Moderator, through you
Yes.
to the body.
Just press it once if you. Okay.
This vote that we're looking at tonight is for an excluded debt. This is to put to ballot vote. Excluded debt is not within the inside debt. It's outside of our debt. So it is a separate borrowing thought. It's temporary borrowing for a certain amount of time for a specific project.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up, just give me a moment here. Elliot Hansen.
This is fine. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Elliot Hansen, Precinct 1. You had talked about some 600, call it 650 students that this building will be built for. And you also mentioned that there's going to be 3 floors, but I think I heard you say possibly that we could add another floor if necessary. The question I have is the structure of the building, is it going to be strong enough to add a 4th floor in any of or all of the sections where the academic stuff is going on? I know this previous high school that was here was not sturdy enough to put the air conditioning in, which we put in later, but we had to do a considerable amount of reinforcement. So I am concerned that if we have to add another floor, that the building will be sufficiently strong and architecturally designed for that, because I know we're going to have a lot more students. We already have a lot more right now.
If you could answer that for us, appreciate it.
I may have misspoke. We're not proposing that the building add a fourth floor as a way of expanding, but expanding the footprint, and then going up 3 stories adjacent to the existing building would be a way to expand the building's capacity. The building is not being designed to add a fourth floor to it. It is being designed with sufficient roof structure, to accept solar panels, to deal with snow load, and meet all the codes and so forth, but it's not being designed for a fourth floor. That's a bit excessive for an elementary school, for students to be that many levels, and it's also very difficult from a logistics point of view to add to buildings. You can't have construction going on while the building's occupied, so you sort of have to vacate the building then, just in order to add an additional floor. So it's rarely done, although it's talked about very often.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Next up is John Anzavino. Please identify yourself, please.
Sure. This is working fine. John Anzavino, Precinct 4. It goes back to the financing, because you were talking about inside the levy, outside the levy. I don't know if people really understood that, and what Mr. Cavey was referring to is this is going outside the Prop 2.5. So my question is this, because this was raised during the hearings at the Finance Committee. So it's the board's intention at this point in time that this would fully be done through a debt exclusion. You'd have nothing like the fire station being inside and outside the levy. This would strictly be outside the levy. Is that correct?
Could anybody answer that for us? Mr. Cavey?
I'll simply say it's not a subject that's been discussed by the select board, and wouldn't be until after there's actually an affirmative vote to even have such a project.
All right.
Well, based on your answer where we were very close, and you mentioned that the motion is to exempt it from the 2.5, that would put it totally outside, and it would be fully funded by a debt exclusion. And that's why I'm asking if you can clarify the comment you made, that this would be outside the Prop 2.5. So is it your intent that it would fully be on the debt exclusion? It wouldn't be done split like the fire station?
All right, let's see if we can have an answer. Well, a little more clearer answer. He's asking, is it going to be a debt exclusion?
That is what this motion asks, is for a debt exclusion. Any policy that fell outside of that is something that the select board could determine, but we haven't met to discuss that, and I couldn't speak on behalf of the board because we've never met and we've never discussed it.
Okay, that's pretty much the answer, John. You have another question? No? Okay. Okay, thank you. Excuse me, give me a moment here. Mr. Dolinsky, you're next up.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. George Dolinsky, Precinct 2. You know, one of the things I think is scaring everybody is the fact that we're talking about $113 million to build a school, of which we, as taxpayers, are responsible for approximately $80-some-odd million, give or take a couple of bucks. My question is this. In looking at what's proposed, could we save and reduce the cost of the project by eliminating a pickleball court, an outside basketball court, moving some of the furniture, the fancy staircase that was proposed? Where would we be able to save some money on this type of project? As you can see and hear, possibly, maybe I'm the only one bringing up the numbers, but at the same time, they're scary. And I have a second question after you have some sort of response.
Would anybody be able to answer that question for us?
May I? One point to clarify, it's not around 80 million, it's about 66. So we
I'm
already...
sorry. I mean,
No, that's
what's
okay.
20 million among friends?
But look, just in this blink of an eye, I cut off $14 million.
Yeah, look at that.
Having said that, sure, we could. But how much are you proposing we save by taking out a pickleball court or things like that? We could consider all these things. I think we get a bigger community bang for our buck, but I want to emphasize something you heard me say the other night. I think it's important. The construction cost of this building is right in line with the cost of every other school building, elementary school building in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We might have a different structure for our site costs. Those go with any school building you do, or any other building for that matter. But the cost of building that building for a K-5 school, same everywhere. That's what buildings cost. We can pinch at the edges, George. I'm happy to discuss it with you. I'd rather not, but if it gets me your vote, we'll also have contingency left over. Some of this is a healthy contingency that we'll save. So maybe we'll, maybe I can guarantee you another $3 or $4 million right there. Are we getting close?
All right, I'll take it. I'll talk to you anytime you want, as long as you're buying the drinks.
Mr. Delancey, you have a second question?
My second question is, we have a project that's going to cost us a certain number of millions of dollars, 80, 60, whatever the case may be. What's it going to cost me per year for this building?
I think we asked, that was already asked before.
Was it? I'm sorry. Then I must have missed it because I stepped out of the room. Okay, you said $400?
We estimated high. I'm sorry, Mr. Moderator.
Sure, go ahead.
We think we estimated high, but that's what we provided for an estimate. Based on what I heard from the presentation the other evening, I think we can do much better than that.
So that's for how many years, though, did you say?
20.
20? Thank you.
Thank you, both. All right, I'm going to just hear two more because time is getting late. Next up is Mr. Kirby, then Greg, and then we're going to go into the next part of comments, pro and con debate, okay? Just to kind of using the moderator's discretion to move along. Mr. Kirby, please identify yourself.
Robert Kirby, Precinct 6, through you, Mr. Moderator, to the committee. I was under the impression, with respect to the energy savings, that the geothermal aspect of this system wasn't necessarily included at this juncture, and that would be perhaps a later expense. Can you clear that up, whether that's already in the cost or whether that's an addendum?
That is in the cost. It's a partial geothermal, meaning it's not heating or cooling the entire building, but that portion of the building that's particularly used to a greater extent over the course of a year. So it's basically the first floor of the building, you could think of that. One wing of classrooms, the administration area, the cafeteria, gymnasium, those areas are being heated and cooled through the geothermal system. And that is included in the full project cost.
And is likewise in the energy system, do you have backup generators and so forth? Because you said it's primarily an electric system. Is that included in that?
Yeah, it's all heat pumps. The ones on the first floor are getting the energy from the geothermal system. The heat pumps that are serving the rest of the building are air source heat pumps. Like you have at home, in a sense, if you have a split, those mini split systems. It's on a little bit bigger commercial scale, but it's a similar kind of arrangement. So, and there is an emergency generator, but the idea is that the entire school would not, it's not like a hospital that you continue running it if there are power outage. It's enough power to safely, evacuate the building, get people home safely, and or have some convenience outlets, say, in the gymnasium, so it could be used as a partial shelter. It's not officially a shelter, but it would keep the computer system running, the alarm system running, the refrigerators and freezers running, and a minimum amount of heat to keep the building from freezing, too.
My second question is not about energy, but really about the total kind of itinerary. Like you mentioned earlier, I think, or one of the committee did, about if the South School wasn't, being employed by the use of the new school, that maybe it would be demolished, maybe it would be appropriated for some other use or whatnot. But we're talking about $34 million to put the South School to code just to become utilizable in the modern world, if you will. So in your where does this project fit in your 5-year plan? You must have other items that you're looking at, like, so if we're kicking out in total $66 million out of the 113, and then next year or 2 years from now, they come back and say, well, we need that $34 million for the South School, and by the way, we need to upgrade the junior high, and then all the other schools are feeling inferior because their schools are still the 50-year-old plants, and everybody else who goes to the new plant has this wonderful up-to-date thing, and so now this is kind of inequity within the town, and people are not happy. So, I mean, like, I think a lot of people feel about the kind of like debt fatigue in the sense that, we get this piece, and then we get that piece and this piece, and they all keep coming back with tens of millions of dollars behind them. So where does this fit in the 5-year plan? I mean, are we going to get hit up for the next 5 years with 30+ million for every project that is happening?
So when you look at the school committee's decision in the beginning stages of all of this and the consolidation recommendation from this committee to the school committee, there's one thing that became constant from the school committee's perspective really prior to my coming after being here, and that is that we are not looking in the future to build new elementary schools. We're going in the direction that we have at least 3 other solid buildings, the Dodd, the Hanson, and the Gibbons, where it would be renovations, additions, if and when needed. Now, if you're asking about the next project that potentially is coming down the road, that would be the O'Donnell Middle School, which we all know is part of that. When that will come into play, that'll be a decision of the school committee. There'll be a lot of discussions, I'm sure, with the select board, because that number is going to be pretty high, probably higher than the very building we're in. I know higher than the building we're in right now. And that's just because of the inflation, so on and so forth. I do not see that as a recommendation coming in the next few years. But again, I defer to the school committee in working a plan for what would be the next stages. Lastly, and I think as important, is this project gives us further spacing potentials at the other schools. And with the increase in enrollment and the increase of needs in student populations, it allows for us to attempt to keep more of our students here in Stoughton, where we want to educate them. Not all. There are students that have to go out of district per agreements, but it allows for long-term planning of having these specialized classrooms literally from pre-K all the way to age 22 for certain populations, which we currently still have or do have. But we'll be growing those programs and looking at the elementary schools having to be where they need to be.
All right, thank you both. Greg, could you identify yourself for the meeting?
Sure. Greg Pokrack, Precinct 2. My first question was just recently answered. How much will the town of Stoughton be on the hook for this project? Approximately $66 million, I'm hearing. So my first question is, why are we asking for 113 if it's 66? I just want to know. We had problems with the fire station with the funny numbers. I'm just trying to avoid the same situation.
We're required to as part of the MSBA process.
So
town meeting has to authorize the full amount. We only borrow what we need. Or you're only
are the
authorized.
MSBA funds guaranteed?
It's a grant, and we will sign a grant agreement with them that, yes, guarantees that fund.
So not yet guaranteed.
No, we've been approved for a grant. Okay. On the condition that this town meeting and the voters approve its share of the funding, then it's guaranteed.
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing we did with this building.
Okay. Thank you. I worry about the one line here, and I can bring this up in comments
Right.
if you like.
You had your 2 questions. Thank you very much, Greg. Okay, Peter, I can't let you talk because then we'll go around again for everybody. But thank you for standing up and.
Well, I had to speak because of the beginning part of the article. That wasn't a question, that was clarification. It's a very quick question.
All right, just one question because we're
One
going to
question.
move on to the next section.
So if the town, if we approve this tonight, goes to a vote, the town approves it, how soon does the shovel go on the ground and the ribbon is cut to complete the building? By the way, Peter Murphy, Precinct 2.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you for the question, Peter. We're on the exact same time track as the high school, which you may or may not remember. We broke ground in after the spring town meeting. We broke ground for that the next late spring, early summer, and this project will be completed for the start of the school year in 2027.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mr. Recupero. Okay, now we move into the next section, pro and con debate. Each town meeting rep has up to 3 minutes to provide their pro and con comments.
Point of information, Mr. Moderator.
All right, what was that? I can't, you have to use it. I heard
Point of information.
Please use a microphone. We have a point of information from Mr. Cohen.
Get out of the way for that.
Mr. Moderator, this is a borrowing article, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Is it a two-third vote to get this by?
It's a 2/3 vote to pass this article.
Thank you very much.
2/3 required. Thank you for that clarification. Right. Just for clarification by town council, it's 2/3 to pass it tonight, but at the ballot box, if it gets there, it's only simple majority at the ballot box. 2/3 for this evening. All right, so let me see who's up first. Okay, Ms. Clip, where are you? You're first. All right, and then you have to kind of bear with us. Everybody just jumped up at the same time. So it's sort of like, we're going to have to just go back
Yes,
and forth a
Karen
little
Clip,
bit.
53 Prance Court, Precinct 8. I'm in favor of this article. I was on a building committee. We had $2.5 million to do all the schools and the buildings in this town. This building was excluded because we knew it didn't meet handicap accessibility and it needed to be rebuilt. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. I'll go over here. Matt Callis, please identify yourself.
Matthew Callis, Precinct 3, a father of a student at the South Elementary. Just the perspective of somebody who's there. It's a small school. Things like art, they don't have an art room anymore because they had to turn it into a classroom. When you go to park, you have to park in an adjacent neighborhood. You're on people's lawns because there's not parking enough there for pickup and drop off. The school is overcrowded. They're doing a good job, but frankly, it's time for that school to be upgraded. So I'd like you to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, everybody's waiting in line to talk, so if you keep clapping, we'll be delaying the process. But thank you. I'm going to go over here to Jim. Just so everybody will know, to put the moderator's discretion right out there, I don't want anybody I'm going to just rule out of order. If you call the questions, I'll at least hear from 6 from each side, just to let you know, pro and con, just to be fair to everybody. So if you're going to come up, move the question right away. I'm going to rule you out of order. I won't recognize it. All right, Mr. Jim, go ahead.
Jim Guerin, Precinct 6. My only objection to this project is the timing of it. We're sitting here now paying for a high school, we're paying for a library, we're paying for a fire station, and now this thing comes up. Now, I don't know about the rest of the people in this room here, but I tend to believe that there's not many households, other households in this town that have 2 six-figure salaries for income. And I think that we're treating these people kind of poorly. Now, adding another $400 to $500 onto our tax bills is going to be a big problem for some of these folks, and I think it should be considered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Mr. Rock. Please identify yourself.
John Rock, Precinct 3. I'm totally in favor of this project. I took a tour of the building maybe 15 years ago, and it was dreadful then. It leaked. The mechanicals were awful, and I guarantee it's worse today. I vote there. It's depressing when I go there. I think it's badly needed. There's parents here that went there. Their kids went there. Now their kids are grown, and it's needed a new school all along, and I strongly urge you to vote in favor of this and then let the voters decide. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go over here now. Mr. Feinberg, please identify yourself.
Thank you. Arnie Feinberg, Precinct 6. I will be representing the interests of our Stoughton residents. That includes low and middle income and fixed income seniors. This will be my theme throughout the town meeting. We must deliberate with these people in mind. The debt meeting last week was a very important meeting which gave perspective on how the debt is going to affect our lives now and in the future. I would like to thank the Hilltop Financial Advisors for a job well done. The tax levy limit plus new growth is $84,534,438. That only leaves $57,709 unused levy capacity. There is no wiggle room for debt without an override and a debt extension. You can see this information that I'm discussing on page 4 of the Hilltop Financial Advisor handout. The impact of debt exclusions on our taxes above 2.5% we already pay means we will be getting more increases in our taxes, going from 80 cents per thousand all the way up to $1.45 per thousand of house value. Let this sink in. This includes the middle school only. If your home is worth $650,000, your tax increases another $943 per year above your existing tax rate. Now, if you add in the South Elementary School, you will be adding approximately $1,000 to the taxes for a home valued at $650,000. You can see this on page 8 of the Hilltop Advisors handout. This does not include debt exclusions or overrides to fund any debt we may approve in town meetings, special town meetings, and town meetings this month. Stoughton low-income, middle-income, and fixed-income senior homeowners and renters simply cannot afford this excessive taxation. We must not drive these residents out of their hometown because they are living on the edge. If this school is approved, our taxes are going up even more the next couple of years. Can you envision someone in a $6,000 to $8,000 property tax range now getting an increase of $8,000 to $10,000 in the next 4 to 6 years? I recommend we postpone the South Elementary School until we retire enough debt so we have to increase, we do not have to increase.
Mr. Feinberg, time's up.
Can I get 15 seconds?
Then I would have to let everybody else. 3 minutes, I got to stick to 3 minutes.
Vote no on Article 1.
All right, thank you for your time. All right, next up, Juan Fox, please identify yourself.
Juan Fox, Precinct 1. I'm against this article. We're talking about $66 million, but that's an open-ended figure because the secondary costs afterwards are not known. And they will be paid by us eventually. I was disappointed about the not getting a more numerical itemization of the $34.5 million for upgrading the South School, because I think $34.5 million sounds a bit high. And but it's still, they didn't mention anything additional, and it's half of what it would cost to of the school, the new school. And this would have the South School, which is already operating and is already functioning as a school, but it would be eventually, the assumption is it would be acceptable if it had these modifications made. It's half the cost to do it than a new school. I say we should do that as opposed to building a big school and have no idea how much additional costs we're going to be associated with. Another thing is that if you want to provide more space, take advantage of the Jones School. The school administration can move. They can move to the Quonset hut next to the up on Pleasant Street. It's the space that we have. It could be turned into office space. Or they could take over the bank at the end of Pleasant Street, where they have the current people can be moved someplace else. And then take advantage of the Jones School with the additional space, and we won't have to build a new school for additional students. But I think this is far too expensive with an open end, and it's too risky financially for the town. I ask everybody to vote no.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Next up is Lisa Lyons. Please identify yourself.
Hi, Lisa Lyons, Precinct 2. So as a town meeting rep, speaking for my constituents, I would like it if the leaders in this town and the presenters in this town could come to town meeting with completely thought out plans. I am offended that we as town meeting reps or the taxpayers are expected to vote for millions of dollars without fully thought out plans. For example, we don't even have a traffic plan done for the South School, let alone another project coming up at this town meeting. We do not have a second entrance, which is paramount for safety in a school. We have an emergency exit, as said earlier. There are so many unknowns. We don't have the complete project would include, what are we going to do with the South School and the Jones School? By throwing it on the select board's laps, that's just, it's like we're not connecting the dots. I would like to see us connect the dots before we ask us as town meeting reps or the taxpayers to bear the burden of millions and millions of dollars. And it just seems to me to be tone deaf to the taxpayers in this town to ask them to pay for this school. Obviously, I am totally against this, not in perpetuity. It's just not yet. To a previous speaker's point, we need to plan out as a full organization, that's municipal side and school side, for our capital planning, and plan accordingly with debt inside the budget. We have way too low of a percentage of debt inside the budget, which means our operating budgets are gobbling up way too much money, and it's costing us a fortune in interest. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Up next, I have Frank Lyons was next. Then we'll go back over this side. But go ahead, Frank, please identify yourself.
Yeah, I'm Frank Lyons, Precinct 8. Excuse me. I think I'd like to thank the folks that put this presentation together. I'd like to thank everybody in the room for all the questions they asked. This is a lot of money. It's an important project. But being a town meeting rep, I mean, we're not approving any money tonight. What we are voting on is whether or not the voters and taxpayers in this town will get to voice their opinion. All right. We say yes, we say no. We haven't spent anything. All right. That, you know, a very fine plan has been put together. I think there was plenty of detail. Some people don't agree with that. I mean, at this point, you know, some people like the pickleball, some people don't like the pickleball. In my opinion, it's time to put it to the voters. All right, and to put it to the voters means that we approve this here and let it go to the next step. You know, I don't, it is an important thing. It is a lot of money. People are speculating that, you know, folks might not be able to afford it. They might be able to afford it. I'm saying, you know, I'm going to vote in favor of this and give them the opportunity to tell us what they want. You know, there's a lot of opinions been put out here, but that's all they are, is opinions. All right, when people actually vote, we'll know what the actual answer is. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Moving on. Sandra Souza, please identify yourself to the meeting.
Sandra Souza, Precinct 1. So I do agree with the previous speaker on that usually our job is to vote on whether or not we're going to spend money, and that is our responsibility. But tonight we're here to vote whether we're going to put this through to the townspeople to let them decide on the ultimate way they want to spend their tax dollars. Now, I'm retired, so I'm on that proverbial fixed income now. So I'm always very, very careful and cognizant of, my budget, and I don't want another $400, $500 on my tax bill. But if I'm going to spend that extra money, I can't think of any way that I would rather spend it than for the future of our children. My kids don't go to school in Stoughton. I don't have grandchildren, so they won't benefit from this new school either. But I have a lot of new neighbors who have little kids in the neighborhood. I want them to have a good school to go to. Well, they would go to the Dawes, so I guess that exempts that point. But, I want kids in the town to have a good school to go to and not be crowded into a classroom. I mean, we've heard already tonight how it's overflowing at South, and the new one wouldn't be ready for 3 more years. So can you just imagine how full and overcrowded they're going to be in 3 more years? I just don't think that that's a good educational environment for kids to be experiencing. So I think when we're looking at ways to spend money, education in our kids is really the top priority, more than anything else. So I would really urge you to, use your conscience to vote this in the positive tonight and let the townspeople figure out their own budgets, whether they're on a fixed income or whether they're making, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not really our decision. Our decision is to decide, was this a good project put forward? I think it was. I think it was comprehensive. It was well thought out. Maybe we don't like the design. It's too modern, but it's a school. As long as it has all the necessary pieces to it, then we should be voting to let it go forward to the townspeople and voting in the affirmative, and I'm going to vote for it. So thank you very much for all your work on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving right along. Janice Schneider, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Janice Schneider, Precinct 6. Like the previous speaker, I don't have children in the school system, but I value our school system. I want the voters to be able to weigh in on this. So I am going to support the article. I believe that this new school is hugely important to the growth of the town and managing our growth and serving the next generation. So I urge town meeting to support it, let it go to the voters, and have them decide. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Carolyn Campbell. Please identify yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Campbell, Precinct 4. I'm going to urge you all to vote for this article. The speaker during the presentation said that this came up in the facilities master plan of 2010. The need for a South School has been known for way longer than 2010. We did a capital planning project in the late 90s. At that point, that's when we built the current police station and the fire station over in West Stoughton. And at that point, the South School was desperately needed to be replaced. But nobody wanted to risk a debt exclusion. Nobody wanted to go to the voters. So we put it off. It's 24 years later. If a new school was built 24 years ago, 1, it would have been paid off by now, and 2, it would have cost a lot less money. I understand people are concerned about the amount that it's going to raise up their taxes. And we've heard people concerned about how much debt we're borrowing within the levy. The reason we have debt exclusions is to take certain debt that we we deem worthwhile, mostly for capital projects like a school or a fire station, and put them outside of the debt levy, so that our operating budgets, or the amount of money available to fund our budgets, doesn't become totally consumed by interest for our debt. And that's, second, by the time this project actually gets to the funding and starts showing up on our taxes bills, which will probably be in a few years once the project is completed and the final borrowing is done for the long-term borrowing, the high school will be much, much closer to being off of our tax levies, because that debt exclusion will terminate. It was a 20-year debt exclusion. It went into place in 2016, and it will be done. So there will be some relief coming in sight. And finally, I know there are some people that have said, the South School is fine. Would you go to school there if you, the gym can't be used for anything. The cafeteria is really small. It really cannot be made handicap accessible under the ADA because there's just no way to make that structure of the building handicap accessible without costing a lot more. We heard discussion about $34 million to bring the building up to code. That doesn't even discuss the planning and everything else in the use of the building. I think we would grossly underestimate the costs of rehabilitating that building to be a functional 21st century school. And finally, to some people that are concerned that it may look too nice, that Stoughton isn't that type of a community. We don't need to have a nice building to look at.
Time's up.
All right, please, our students value that. Our children value that. They look at other schools.
Time's up.
Thank you. And they compare it to them, so they're happy. All right, I'll stop.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. Next up is Joe Soers. Let's not steal any more time. We'll have to bill you for that time. Okay, thank you.
My name is Joe Soers, Precinct 2. I am against this. I'm going to vote no for it. We have too many debt exclusions, which means that we're going to be paying more than the 2.5 proposition, and there are people in Stoughton that just can't afford it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Becca Moxon.
Becca Markson, Precinct 7. Move the question.
Hang on a minute. As I announced it in the beginning of this process, let me just do a quick count. How many people were favored? How many were against? Give me one moment. Seven people were in favor. Only 5 against. I have to hear one more against.
I didn't hear you.
That's my rule up front. I was up front, very transparent.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what was going on here. I'm sorry.
No, hang on a minute. I'm clarifying my statement. Just give me a moment. No, what I said was 6 from each side, meaning positive and negative. That's what I said, correct, John? So I have clarification. I got one more, no, please, don't, I know how I said it, please. Let me just bang the gavel. I'm gonna hear one more against, and then it's a fair process, and then we can do a summary, a 3-minute summary if they so desire, and then we go to vote.
I'm against.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, now Becca.
Becca Markson, Precinct 7. Move the question.
All right, is there a second? It's been seconded by John Walsh. We'll take that. Okay, we need a 2/3 vote to call the question. We'll get to set this up. Oh, yeah, thank you very much. Well, thank you, Mr. Inokian. Appreciate it. Okay. I'm sorry, this is a cutoff debate. So, well, let's do the cutoff debate, and then we'll go to the summary. You have to, okay, well, rise to the microphone, please, and state your name and your point of order.
Juan Fox, Precinct 1. What about the amended motion? When do we actually vote on that?
Well, this is that was the only motion on the floor. We're going to first determine if we're cutting off debate with a 2/3 vote. If that's true, if it passes, then we're going to have a summary, if they so desire, up to a 3-minute summary, and then we're going to go to take the vote by clicker. Everybody clear on that? Cut off debate is 2/3. All right, so we just got to set up a quick clicker test. This is just a cutoff debate. We need 2/3 vote. I just want. What do you think? It's. All right, we'll try. We'll try to determine this by voice vote. Oh, wait. Let me just ask the clerk, acting town clerk. Okay, we're going to try to determine it. Sometimes up here I might not be able to determine, but we'll try. All right, the cutoff debate. All those in favor by voice vote, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, that answers that. Let me just count everybody up. I'm not sure if I heard that correctly, but thank you. I guess that was unanimous. Thank you, John, for your suggestion. Appreciate that. Would the schools people like to make a summary up to 3 minutes? Feel free.
Half that.
Sure, go right ahead.
I want to echo back to what a few people said, because this is really what we're looking for. We're looking for as many people to be able to decide the fate of this town and this school as possible, and not what I hope to be a minority of this body. We don't know until we vote. But so we ask you to pass it on so that more people can weigh in, more people can have a say on the South School project. And from our part, I can tell you, they'll hear from us. You'll hear from us again, because, again, it's a continuing duty to tell people all about this project. I heard many people say that we didn't provide enough, we weren't prepared. There's probably a 1,400-page document online that's been online, and all those meetings we've had, all of which is available, answers all these questions. We've tried to be comprehensive. If you have a different proposal, I suggest to you that it's a less cost-effective solution and a problem that you put off to a different day. We solved two elementary school issues in one vote. One gym, one cafeteria, 2 schools, economies of scale. We can do this now at a cheaper price than we'll be able to do. I ask that you allow this to go through to the voters to weigh in on this. And again, I want to say something, because this is really what I want. I wish I could emphasize more. It's a damn nice building, and I hope you appreciate it. Input what you want on how we should design it better. We welcome that and always will. It's a damn nice building. I think we deserve something that's nice at an affordable cost. I'll lastly say that I did go through the debt advisor's memorandum. It will, by that estimate, come in at a much lesser estimate than we gave. Let that go through to the voters. We'll guarantee you that our job of transparency and engagement in the public will continue. And please, let's have a nice thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now the motion's up on the screen. We're ready to vote. So let me know if we're ready. We're ready to vote. Please vote now. We have about 20 seconds, I believe. Counting down right now. We need a 2/3 vote to pass, just a reminder. Okay, special town meeting, Article 1 passes 98 to 40 to 0. 98 yes, 40 no, and 0 abstentions. Thank you all for your participation in that article. All right, let's move on. Let's turn to page 18. In the special town meeting book, Article 2, the petition article on page 18. All right. Do I see the petitioner? Can she move forward? I need a motion. You have to, please, Jonah, please come to the microphone. Either pull the microphone up, either one. I'll give you a couple more minutes to come to the microphone. You can read the motion right from the book too. You have a point of order? No. And I'm not going to recognize you. We can proceed and get moving, get done with this evening. But thank you for your suggestion. I appreciate it.
So what am I supposed to say? I'm sorry.
Well, you can read on page 18 of your warrant.
Oh, I don't have it with,
You don't have the book? Yeah, you want to read your motion where it says proposed, where's the motion? Okay. Just make your motion.
okay. I make a motion to.
Yeah, just
start
read
the
your
petition.
article. I'll accept that as the motion.
Okay. Article 2, petitioned article. Article 71, Climate Action Plan Committee proposed motion. That the town vote to dissolve the Climate Action Committee that was established in town meeting May 2023 and comprised of 9 members as follows. 1, the town energy manager. 2, 1 member to be a town employee appointed by the town manager. 3, 1 member to be appointed by the Stoughton Energy and Sustainability Committee. And 4, 6 members to be appointed by the Select Board following postings of openings. Proposed article. Whereas this is an article proposal to dissolve the Climate Action Committee for the following reasons. 1, said committee was formed for the purpose of gathering information and reporting back to town meeting at no cost to the taxpayer. Now, said committee is seeking $100,000 of taxpayer monies to hire a consultant to do what the committee was charged to do themselves. Furthermore, much of the information is already available in the town hall. 2, this committee is one-sided and completely intolerant of diversity of thought or the DEI concept, as certain members were prevented from joining. 3, said committee has not conducted itself according to the standards governing town committee and has condoned behavior that has not met that standard. 4, overstepping the purview of the article that was passed 71.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Second. Who seconded it? George Zelinski. Note that as a second. Okay, Ms. Rosenblatt, you have 10 minutes to make a presentation.
Okay, I just want to say before I start that I timed it out at 8 minutes, but because of nerves, you guys are going to luck out. It's probably going to be 2. I'll leave it at that.
That's fine. Just take your time and speak loudly into the microphone and just take a few moments. And if you need to take a moment to breathe, go ahead. Just relax.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to get it over with, so here goes. Good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight to explain why this article is asking for us to dissolve the Climate Action Committee. I also want to thank all the residents who signed the petition. Before I begin, I need to be very clear that this petition has nothing to do with the debate on climate change or any facet thereof. So I will not address that debate because it will only take away from the true core of what the article's about. There are 4 components to the article: hiring of a consultant for the taxpayers, monies of $100,000, the lack of DEI, the overstepping of the purview, and 4, the non-adherence to government meeting standards. I'll lay out why the combination of all these offenses should collectively be perceived to result in dissolving the committee. It's really very unfortunate that I even have to disclose what happened at the August 28th, 23 climate meeting. It involved non-adherence to the code of conduct, and I really don't want to be in the position of having to reveal what transpired, but I need to stand up to what happened so that no one else will ever have to experience this type of treatment ever again. If I didn't bring it to the forefront, then I'd be just as responsible if it happened again. For context, I attended the majority of the climate meetings and was continuously faced with rude behavior from some members. The chair told people to ignore me and not talk to me right from the start, and they complied. It was apparent that the chair didn't want me there. On August 28th, I was the first to arrive, and when the first member arrived, I thanked them for being so courteous toward me compared to the bad behavior I was enduring from others. They responded politely, and as the members trickled in, I decided to ask that same person a quick question. But before I could finish, this member abruptly jumped up and yelled in my face, "Shut the F up! Just shut the F up!" for a total of 5 times. I froze and feared that this person might also lose control of their fist. I was astonished that an adult could act this way in a public meeting towards another citizen, especially after our peaceful interaction only 2 minutes earlier, and with no provocation. After experiencing this profanity, I said to the chair, "You really need to address this disgusting outburst," to which they just ignored me and walked away. One member stated to me then the vice chair yelled to me, "Shut up and go sit in the back of the room." After the meeting ended, one member stated to me how disgusting this person's behavior was and that there was no excuse for them to act like that, and apologized. The only other decent person was a member who witnessed this virtually and apologized when they saw me in person. Absolute class acts. Any person on a town-funded committee who treats another citizen like that should never be on any committee. And any members who witness or condone this type of unprovoked behavior should never be on any committee. For that reason alone, the committee needs to be dissolved. I immediately brought this to the selectmen's attention since they appointed the members. One selectman in another town officer met with us and said that after conferring with town council, there was nothing that could be done. The selectman stated that the offending party had not signed the code of conduct, leaving the town with no recourse. So, to address the next issue, I have Exhibit A on the handout from the Climate Committee's own proposal from last year, stating no cost. The committee proposed to gather information, seek grant funding, and present a report. But now they want $100,000 to hire a consultant to do that report instead of doing it themselves for free. Furthermore, I was able to get a myriad of climate information at the town hall, as evidenced in this thumb drive that I was given. There's an abundance of climate information at the state, municipal, and federal level, and this committee doesn't need more information. They just need to peruse the existing information and prepare that report. The amount the committee is requesting should have been a definitive amount from a consultant. Instead, it came from arbitrary amounts tossed around at a climate meeting for members to vote on, hoping to select the most likely amount that would pass at town meeting. This can be clearly seen on their January 8th, 2024 meeting. The climate chair said the committee planned on receiving grant monies, but that never materialized. Okay, but it was proposed and voted on as a no cost to the taxpayer committee, not no cost unless we don't get grant money committee. That's bait and switch. More importantly, we are facing economic hardship, and it's not fiscally prudent to spend $100,000. Money is tight.
Hang on a second, Jonah Rosenblatt. Well, she's given her presentation. I'm going to allow it. It's almost over. How much more time? She has 4 more minutes and 50 seconds. Well, let's just go through it. We'll be almost done.
This is my presentation. I'm given 10 minutes.
Presentation. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Rosenblatt.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, let me get back to where I was. Okay, this was proposed and voted on as a no cost to the taxpayer committee, not a no cost unless we don't get grant monies committee. That's bait and switch. More importantly, we're facing economic hardship, and it's not fiscally prudent to spend $100,000 on this. Money is tight, as evidenced by the high school music department, who almost faced extinction if it hadn't been for the magnanimous gesture of Dr. Bayetta. But I won't digress. We just simply can't afford it. To address DEI, there was no diversity of thought allowed, no equal treatment, or a desire to even include certain residents at their meetings. Even the selection process was fraught with DEI problems. Initially, the selectmen discussed at the beginning of the interview meeting that people who weren't in attendance would not be allowed on the committee. But then that all changed by the end of the interview. For some reason, the chair of this committee was allowed to speak for one of the applicants who was absent and explain why that person wasn't there. Then that became the catalyst for allowing absentee applicants to be appointed. I don't know. One interviewer attempted to browbeat me into regurgitating the same ideation on climate that they held. The double standard was palpable. I explained I just want to bring balance rather than be part of an echo chamber. One selectman astutely noted that bringing balance shouldn't be intolerable, but sadly it was. Naturally, I wasn't selected, but the absent person was. That same person showed up for the first 3 meetings and then never again. I had better attendance. I was even thwarted from getting the schedule as a way to prevent me from attending their meetings. I wasn't the only one who was mistreated. Other residents came forward at the April 1st Standing Committee meeting to express mistreatment as well. Moreover, one kind climate member handed me the memo being distributed at their meeting, only to have the chair rip it out of my hands, so I had to file a FOIA request in order to get that information. That never should have happened. No one should have to experience this kind of mistreatment, exclusion, or even having a microphone muted on them while attending a committee meeting. The aforementioned behavior is unacceptable, but that's what's happening in our town. Many feel this committee needs to be more focused and pay stricter attention to the report they pledged to provide. Instead, they engage high school students, discuss school curriculum, and even discuss implementing SEG scores on residents, etc., etc. As you can see from the handout, it's all there. Also, open meeting law violations have occurred since many times a quorum wasn't met. The minutes of the meeting have not been timely or are non-existent. The handout denotes attendance has been waning, and with that poor attendance history, they want us to take them seriously and invest $100,000 with them for a consultant. I don't think that's wise use of our tax monies. And this has nothing to do with sour grapes, because all I asked for was an apology, and I would have let this end. But there were no apologies forthcoming. This is about unfair treatment, exclusion, silencing speech, repugnant behavior, bait and switch, and open meeting violations to collectively dissolve. So this committee can collectively, with all those collective reasons, so this committee can be dissolved. Sweeping all of this under the rug and keeping this committee in existence sets a very bad precedent. To conclude, I will let the decency and character of our town be measured by the outcome of the vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I have to apologize. I failed to read the 2 standing committee reports that we have. I'll just read those right now. Intergovernmental Relations, it's on page 18. No vote taken due to not having a quorum at the time of the hearing. I'll read the Municipal Regulations Committee recommendation just to make it quick and easy. They voted 1 to 5 to 1 to recommend Article 2 to town meeting. The motion failed. Okay, now we go into technical question periods. All right. Molly, could you identify yourself, please?
Molly Cochran, Precinct 2, Chair of the Climate Action Plan Committee. I will obviously have some commentary after the technical questions. I will ask a couple of technical questions, if I may. You want to recall your attention, Ms. Rosenblatt, to your making a public comment at the February 26th Climate Action Plan CAP meeting, which is filmed on SMAC. Please, everybody go to SMAC and take a look at our meetings. At that meeting, you at the public comment section, which was on our agenda, you made a statement that word on the street was that the committee was going to give town residents ESG scores and raise their taxes depending on their scores. And when asked about the source of that rumor, you said that you were the source of the rumor. So I'm asking you today, when you were collecting signatures, did you promote your article and obtain signatures by repeating this false rumor regarding ESG scores and raising taxes?
Okay, first of all, I didn't mention SEG scores or ESG. I'm not sure which one it is, but whatever it is, I didn't mention either one. Secondly, I went back and I watched that meeting, and all I said was, I'm the one who brought forth to the public the fact that you were having SEG scores, and I even said SEG scores. I didn't take it into its trajectory. The trajectory was taken by the townspeople, and I was letting you know what was happening with the townspeople's trajectory.
Okay, and you've just repeated the rumor here today. Are you
Excuse
going
me,
to clarify?
excuse me,
My
excuse-
second question
Well,
is,
well, first you go through the moderator, okay?
I'm sorry, through you,
And-
Mr.
and I think you need
Moderator.
to- Excuse me, also tone it down a little bit. This is not a cross-examination. So please just ask a question like
Thank
you
you for
would a neighbor.
clarifying that.
Just ask it like a
Through you,
neighbor.
Mr. Moderator, are you repeating and asserting in front of these town meeting members today that our committee ever discussed or proposed assessing ESG scores to town citizens and raising taxes? Please answer yes or no.
Well, that's a little bit tricky because I heard you talk about SEG scores, and I admitted even in that meeting on SMAC, I'm the one who brought forward the fact that you were talking about SEG scores. The trajectory that the townspeople took is not mine. I can't own that. That's owned by the town, and I was bringing it forward to let you know what was happening, and you made it mine. I'm not the author of that.
Okay, my second question relates to your complaint that the committee overstepped its purview.
Excuse me, Molly, I think you asked two questions though, did you not?
That was a subpart of question one. I would ask the moderator for the.
I can't, Molly, I can't.
You can't?
I can't. Can I ask you one thing from the moderator's perspective? What's ESG? I have no idea what that is.
I'm going to explain that when I get to my commentary at the end. I'm going to go into great detail on that. All right?
Okay, thank you.
So you're not going to allow me to ask a second technical
You
question?
already asked the second question. You can come back to the comment section. Okay, thank you very much. I'm just trying to keep this in a friendly atmosphere here, but thank you. Okay, next up, was it Matt Callis? Please identify yourself, please.
Matthew Callis, Precinct 3. So let's just assume everything you say is true. Isn't the remedy new members in the committee if they can't commit,
I didn't hear the question. Can you
Let's assume everything you said is true. Isn't the remedy new members in the committee and not the dissolution of the committee itself?
What am I supposed to do with the committee? Wouldn't be dissolving it with the fact that they swore and they used the F-bomb 5 times at me without being provoked? Do you think that's a committee that should keep continuing in our town? Would you like to have been on the side of where I stood? Would you like that to happen to you? I'm here to help prevent that from happening to anyone else.
Rosenblatt, just answer the question if you could. If you can't answer the question, I understand.
Well, it's not that I can't ask it. I thought I did answer it.
Okay, it was asked, it was answered. Okay, let's move on to, you have another question?
Yeah, and then for the 100,000, wouldn't the remedy there just be not to approve the 100,000 if we don't want it, rather than dissolve the committee?
But that's only one aspect. It was a compilation of aspects that all were offenses. That's why I started out from the beginning and said that everything compiled together, all of the egregious behaviors, all of the egregious offenses, everything together. I mean, the fact that they dropped the F-bomb should have been reason enough for them to be dissolved. But if you incorporate all the other factors and all the other offenses, I think that lends itself to saying they should be dissolved.
You okay?
I'm not sure I heard an answer on either one, but I'll take it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Callis. Who's up next? Laura Gunn, can you please identify yourself, please, for the meeting?
Yep, Laura Gunn, Precinct 5. I'm also a member of the Climate Action Plan Committee. So first of all, Jonna, I appreciate you saying that we're not going to, make this personal. This isn't about your personal opinions about climate action, but it was at annual town meeting this time last year when we were going to vote on this committee, and you said that this was a farce and that people were being gaslit by us bringing this forward. So I just would like
can
that.
I just
So
interject?
anyway,
I'm
yeah.
not addressing
I'm gonna go
anything that's
through-
not part of this. I
Hold
don't
on,
want to get
everybody,
into
hold
that
on,
debate.
hold on. Laura, do you have a question?
I do. I'd like to go through two of the...
Let's get to the question.
Yeah.
So it'll be easier.
All right. So I would like to understand the overstepping of the purview of the article that was passed.
That was when you were talking about going to science teachers and trying to have them implement curriculum, having a student come in and try to get them to have an equal climate change committee with yours that you would help them implement, and you would work in conjunction with each other, on and on.
Okay, so the community engagement part of a climate action plan committee in terms of talking to the schools and seeing if there was interest of a student that was in charge of the recycling committee at the school is somehow outside the purview of the committee?
Well, also the bottle.
No, just answer that part, please.
Also the bottle bill that you were trying to
That is
implement.
not a climate action plan committee proposal. That is a private citizen proposal.
Well,
All right, hold on. No cross debating, please.
No, she asked me a question. I'm just answering
Okay,
her.
but let you go through the moderator so we
Oh, sorry,
keep this
Bob.
nice and calm.
Yeah?
All right, did you answer her question?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Okay.
Why don't we ask one more?
Okay. Oops. Thank you. So tell me more about the DEI concept and how the Climate Action Plan Committee prevented you from being on the committee when it was the choice of the Select Board.
I said it was the Select Board. I didn't say it was you guys.
Well, then why would you hold that against the Climate Action Plan Committee as part of the dissolution of it when they had nothing to do with who was chosen?
Because it was the actions of the committee itself.
No.
You don't call swearing?
No, I'm
the-
done. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up is Lisa Lyons. Please identify yourself, please.
Lisa Lyons, Precinct 2. Yeah, I'll try. So in general, can you tell me if I understand in summary of what your objections are? Is there's at least 4 areas of concern that this Climate Action Committee was generated. Are you concerned at all with their intentions to recommend mandates for the tax-paying citizens of this town to follow based on recommendations?
That would be overstepping their purview, and they even put in their proposal last year that they were only going to address receiving grant monies and doing a report. And that's not, what you just said is not even in the proposal. So yes, they were overstepping their purview, and I was concerned with that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Moving on, Carolyn Campbell, you're up next. Please identify yourself.
Hi, Carolyn Campbell, Precinct 4. Through you, Mr. Moderator, to whoever can answer my question. I understand that the Select Board appointed all of the members of this committee. How would the Select Board remove a member from any town committee for which they appoint?
Can we get an answer to that? Anybody? Right. Well, I think, yes, Mr. Town Council, you can answer that. Because the question was to any committee.
Mr. Moderator, through you to the meeting, your town charter provides a process for removing appointed officials. It requires notice. It requires a hearing. There are due process rights. They have the right to be represented at that hearing, or their term can expire if the term was set. So there are multiple vehicles where a appointed board member can be replaced under your charter.
Thank you. And one more technical informational question.
Sure, go right ahead.
What are the lengths of the terms of the members of the committee?
Okay, I don't know if we can Steve Cavey, can you answer that for us, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I recall probably anybody who remembers the article is that the committee only lasts for 2 years, and all of the committee members are appointed for that 2-year term while the committee exists.
So the committee would end next year?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next is Juan Fox. Please identify yourself, please.
Juan Fox, Precinct 1. Through you, moderator. Were there a space or spaces available on the committee when you requested to join?
Yes.
And was someone else chosen after you went through the process of joining?
Yes, others were chosen and not me, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. We're moving on.
Me? Okay.
Yes, could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Janet Weinstein. I'm a town rep in Precinct 6, as well as a member of the Climate Action Committee. And I'm really confused about why she's here, because I know I was there. I just know there was only, she wasn't selected. I don't know why, but you know, it just happened. I was selected. I had no experience with climate action.
You have a question in there?
I do.
Okay, please ask it.
Well, why she's doing this, I just feel like she wasn't selected. We're not against anything. Why are you here? Why are you doing this?
Because I got sworn at and I had papers ripped out of my hand. I couldn't get the schedule in order to go to your meetings. It was very evident that you didn't want me there from the get-go.
Well, you were there at a lot of meetings, but I missed some virtually, as well as I had things going on.
Right, I was there more than you.
I know.
Do you have a second question?
Yeah, I don't understand why attendance is the issue with you.
Well, it's only one facet. There are many facets collectively that led me here. The main one being having the F-bomb hurled at me right in my face 5 times, when just 2 minutes earlier, we were having a very congenial conversation. It was very amicable. All I did is walk up to him to ask him a quick question, and he got right up in my face and started hurling the F-bomb at me. That's no way for anyone to act at a town. I mean, you shouldn't have to have a code of conduct to tell you that's not the proper way to act.
Can I say anything else, or am I done?
Of course you can.
No, I'm talking to Bob.
Oh, I'll let you talk.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Bob is in charge. He's the moderator.
Oh, thank you for reinforcing that. I appreciate that. All right, did you have
Everyone
a question?
has a right to their opinion. I believe
right.
that.
That's right.
Whether you agree or disagree with it. I do believe that.
Right, thank you very much. Did you have a question for me?
The question is, I don't understand why she's here doing this.
Well, she's a town meeting rep like you all are. She went
I
through
know
the
she has a
process.
right. I
She
get
has a
that.
right.
Am I done? I can stop.
Yeah, you asked you 2 questions, I believe, right?
That was 2.
Okay, thank you very much
You're
for your
welcome.
questions.
I don't know if I should bow or curtsy. I'm sorry.
Either one. All right, anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry, over here. Please identify yourself.
Hi, Eileen McGuire, Precinct 5. You keep bringing up DEI. What is your definition of DEI?
Diversity is in the dictionary is having diversity of thought. I think that
No, DEI, not diversity. What does DEI stand for?
Well, diversity of thought is what I was applying it to. Inclusion, I wasn't included, and equity, I wasn't treated equally. The other members were told not to have any conversations with me. They were told to not engage with me, and they did that.
So you brought up earlier that you're offended. Your misuse of that term is offensive. The other thing is I want to bring up is do you go to therapy?
I don't understand. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't.
Do you go to therapy? Do you have a therapist?
No.
Okay, look, let's not go down that road. That's not fair to anybody. All right? All right? All right, I got to...
What are you going to do?
Okay, who's up next?
There's all kinds.
Is it this lady? Marina's up? Is it Marina? Yes, please.
Go first.
Okay.
Okay, about the...
Please identify yourself again.
Sorry. Marina Ryans, Precinct 7. When I reviewed the papers for the climate committee, I've noticed that the members themselves don't even attend the meetings, and because most of the meetings don't have quorum. So I can see that I don't see the relevance or the reason to keep this committee. Number one, because people don't take it, the members don't take it.
What's your question?
The question is, I believe, and I don't know if you agree with me, that absence of quorum may be another reason to dissolve this committee. Do you agree?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Another question is, from what I've heard, it's absolutely, just to listen to this, I'm completely devastated, and I understand how you felt at that time. Don't you think that you would expect today, with everything that you've presented to us, that the members of the committee would at least say, instead of interrogating you and being defensive, at least you would say, sorry about that, this should never happen again, and we feel it's inappropriate, apologize. But this didn't even happen. So I think it's another reason, good reason to dissolve this committee.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was not a question. I understand that. Let the moderator, I'm a little slow at times, let the moderator make those decisions. Thank you very much for your suggestions. All right, over here.
Lindsay Weber, Precinct 5.
I'm sorry, Michael, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
You spoke to DEI, specifically a lack of diversity of thought. Were you referring to other people not agreeing with your ideas, or a balance of climate change pro and con people?
No, I wasn't expecting anyone to go with my perspective. What I wanted to offer was balance, and I wasn't allowed to be there because unless I was going to be an echo chamber for everything that they wanted to hear, then I wasn't allowed in. For example, I asked them about the thermal runaway, and if a battery gets damaged going over a pothole, that can cause a fire. And those fires in those electric car batteries can burn so hotly, so intensely, that you can't put them out. You have to let them burn themselves out. And then after they're out for a few days, they can even explode. Also, these batteries are $20,000 to replace, give or take whatever. I'm saying that's a good figure. That's a lot of money for people. So I just wanted to say to them things like, well, don't you think that's a lot of money for people to have to endure? Don't you think maybe we should look at other options that aren't so costly, or factor in that there is a big problem with the fires on these electric batteries? And they wouldn't let me talk. Or if they finally let me talk on public comment, they would say, okay, duly noted, and just not answer me. But I was concerned about these things. But anything that I had to say, no matter what it was, good, bad, or indifferent, was knocked down.
Okay, so my second question is more of a clarification question. So by diversity of thought, you just felt like your voice was not heard, that there was not a lack of diversity on the committee. It was just your voice not being
Correct.
heard.
I couldn't speak. I wasn't allowed to speak. I was even warned that if I did speak at the meeting, they'd call the police and have me thrown out. So I just wasn't even allowed to say a word.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
thank you. Thank you both. Michael Horan. Then I'm going to hear Elliot. Then I'm going to cut off this part. Then we're going to go into pro and con debate. Go ahead, Michael Horan, please identify
Michael Horan, Precinct 5, Climate Action Plan Committee member. Through you, Mr. Moderator, to the proponent. Very quick question, since you brought it up a couple of times and it seems rather important. Can you tell us what this, and I think you were confused about the actual acronym, but what ESG or SGE means?
ESG is a score that you receive for the things that you do that help the environment, like having solar panels, you get a score, et cetera, for all the environmental factors that you implement, you get a score. And to me, a score is a punitive measure. Why would you have to have a score? You should just be setting the example, trying to change things by example, or try to get people to change, but to punitively, to have it be a punitive measure, I don't agree with that.
I couldn't agree more. As a follow-up question, I've been at every meeting but one, the last meeting. I've taken minutes at every meeting, and I've reviewed the tapes from every meeting. I've never once heard this referred to. Not once in all the time I've been there. Are you certain you're not confusing it with GHG audits, which we have discussed at length? And can you tell me at what date we did discuss these alleged SGE audits? Thank you.
I don't have the date in front of me, but I was at meetings and I did hear the conversation direct towards these scores, the ESG scores, and I'm as certain that that is what was discussed as I am as certain as the person who swore at me.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to hear one more. You're all set, Michael, right? Okay, one more person, Elliot, then we have to go in pro and con debate because the time is late. Go ahead, Elliot.
All right, I'll be as brief as possible.
Thank you.
First question I have.
Please identify yourself.
Elliot Hanson, Precinct 1.
Thank you.
Question I have is, I see that you put all these members up there and everything else, but is any of these people appointed to this committee? Do they have any professional or educational qualifications, or they just have political opinions?
Political opinions.
And
There
the other,
might be.
I don't know if, I mean,
I haven't
It's her
finished my
opinion.
answer. I haven't finished my answer.
okay, go ahead.
I felt they were political opinions. What these people's background were, when I went to the interview, I didn't really get a true sense as to what these people's backgrounds were, because I was also thinking about what I was going to say in my interview. So I'm not certain that that's the case, that they have these scientific backgrounds, but maybe one or two might have. I think one, actually. But I don't remember exactly, because as I say, my focus was more on my interview and what I was going to say.
and one other question, if I may. I do remember this coming up town meeting back in 2023. And I do remember him saying that it would be no cost to the town, but I believe, and Vaughn may correct me on this, the chairman of the Finance Committee, wasn't there some money that they were asking for, 140,000 or something like that, for this committee that was supposed to be no charge, no free?
Mr. Hanson, that's a whole different article, okay?
All right.
I know it was referenced in here, but that's not the article that we're debating.
Can I
tonight.
answer that briefly,
No,
though? Because he asked me the question.
No,
Well,
I'm going to rule you out of
But it
order.
was part of my...
Excuse me. No. The quick answer is no. We're going to go into pro and con debate. Anybody for pro and con debate? Ms. Colburn?
Pat Colburn, Precinct 4. I am mortified at the behavior in this room tonight. Whether we agree with the petitioner and what she's saying or not, she has every right to speak. And I only met her once before at a select board meeting when she brought up issues, and I didn't feel she was treated any better there. Nobody should be laughed at. Nobody should be made a laughingstock. Nobody should ever ask anybody if they've ever been to therapy. I think that's grounds for removing the town meeting member. Absolutely. I'm disgusted at that. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there at any of them. But if she was treated at all a fraction of the way she's being treated here tonight, I'm tempted to just approve this. I've been on tough committees. It is not easy to get somebody out of a committee if they don't want to follow the rules. I was this close to putting a motion through myself on one to dismiss it. I chose to walk away instead. Regardless of what we agree, what we think, she shouldn't be treated this way. Nobody should become before this board without being treated with respect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Colburn. I try to keep some type of civil control, but it's difficult. All right. Who's up next? Juan Fox. Please identify yourself, please.
Juan Fox, Precinct 1. In this town, we have a lot of committees. And the only requirement to be on a committee is to be a resident of this town. There is no a political requirement of purity of thought to be on any committee. There is no reason to prevent somebody to be part of any committee in this town based on their political views or maybe even if the committee is pretty uniform, that they have something opposing. Nobody should be prevented in this town from being on any committee, specifically because of their political views. And we can see by all of the comments from, I would have to say, the other side, based on how she's being treated, that we're getting a little bit of a window of the kind of thought process in that committee. Not very open, not very accepting. And this is unacceptable in this town. It's unacceptable to have a committee that is excluding other people of differing thought. And for that reason alone, this committee should be dissolved.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Mr. John Rock, please identify yourself.
John Rock, Precinct 3. So I'm in agreement that nobody should be treated the way
Thank you.
this woman was treated, if it's true. However, this is a volunteer committee. Okay, these people are volunteering their time. It's unpaid. There's no budget as of now. So that, you know, if you don't want to spend money on this committee, then vote against the request for a budget later on. So that's not even involved here. And it would seem to me that the remedy would be to go back to the Board of Selectmen if you feel aggrieved or if you feel you've been disrespected by members of the committee, and ask them to remove those responsible. But I applaud anybody in this town that serves on a volunteer committee. Okay? These people are giving up their time. There was no requirement for them to be experts. I think this is totally out of order, and I urge you to vote against this motion. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Karen Klipp, you're up next.
Yes, originally I was going to, Karen Klipp, Precinct 8. Am I in 8 still?
I
They
believe
moved me
you are.
around so damn many times. I've been around a little bit. I've been on a lot of committees. And I'll tell you right now, I'm no expert in any of them I've ever been on. And anyone that would call anybody unfit to be on a committee should not be a town meeting rep. And I feel that person should be removed, and that should be looked at by the moderator. We all serve at the pleasure of the residents. We try to do the best we can with the knowledge we have and the backgrounds we bring into it. That's what town meeting is about. If Howard Hanson's here right now, he would not be too happy. And we should get an update from his brother by the end of the town meeting how our moderator is doing. Mr. Howard Hanson, we love you if you can hear us. I know he can't talk, but I know you might be able to hear us. But I'll tell you right now, one town meeting rep should be removed.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on. I believe Mr. Anzavino, please identify yourself.
John Anzavino, Precinct 4. And I'm going to be right up front. I voted against forming the committee to begin with last year, all right? However, with that said, I wasn't allowed to ask a question, so I'm just going to go into this. I'm going to urge you to vote for this, against this, because even though I voted against forming it, a lot of the things in here, one of the things I went and looked for is I heard complaints about many open meeting law violations. I went and looked. There's not one violation filed with the state about an open meeting law violation for that committee. And finding none, it just brings into question some of these statements, because anybody can file an open meeting law violation if they're aware of it. So I'm just going to urge you to vote against this article. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, I believe it's, Mr. Feinberg. Yes. Please identify yourself.
Arnie Feinberg, Precinct 6. All we got in this world is respect and integrity. We are good people. Nobody should ever put someone down in a meeting for any reason. We talked respectfully, no snarky comments like a particular person made, and this should never, ever happen. And I'm going to leave this, I am voting for it, and I'm going to leave you with the same thing I just said, respect and integrity. And if we can't have it, that committee doesn't deserve to be in our town.
Thank you very much. Moving on. Over here, Mr. Billow, please identify yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Dave Billow, Precinct 4. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat what people have been saying. Mr. Moderator, you said it first. We can disagree and still be friends. I think that's one of the things I like about town meeting the most. Made a lot of friends here. Don't always agree with everybody. But the first thing that comes to mind is I feel like town meeting isn't really or wasn't really the forum for this kind of grievance. Kind of too bad that it had to come to this. And again, to repeat what another speaker said, this is a volunteer committee. They've had to go through this now. I know a lot of people on the committee. They're trying to do good work. It's an important issue, something I care about, as people might know. And I don't want people to vote to dissolve the committee. And one thing that does come to mind is, you know, there's kind of a saying when people say it's not about the money, that means it's about the money. The speaker said it's not about sour grapes. I just kind of wonder if that's why we're here. So I ask you to vote against dissolving the committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving along. Who's up next? You, Eileen?
Hi, yes.
Okay.
Eileen, Precinct 5. I'm sincerely sorry for that comment. It came out, and I am embarrassed. It's not typically who I am. I've been a rep here for many years, and I spoke out of character. For the record, I'm a huge supporter of therapy. And it came out sideways. So I hope you accept my apology. I do not represent, and I apologize to the whole town meeting. This is not the space for this. I was surprised that this came here to this, and I don't represent the climate committee at all. I was surprised that this wasn't done before the town meeting, and that I agree this might not be the place to do it. So again, I apologize to everybody. I don't normally come and speak at the microphone. I did want to honestly know what you meant by DEI. That was a very confusing statement of what my understanding of DEI is. And thank you. So I apologize. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I just say one quick thing in response to that?
I'll let you quickly respond to that, yes.
Okay. This is how it's done, Climate Committee. I take your apology, and I have not offended, and let that just be gone.
I am utterly embarrassed that it came out
That's
that
okay.
way. So I just want people to know.
It can be emotional.
I appreciate
and
that.
it doesn't stand for our town. It doesn't stand for the committee.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
And I am in support
Took
of
a
this
lot
committee.
for you to say that,
Okay.
and I appreciate it.
All right, we have to move on. All right, who's up next?
Right here,
Peter Ventresco.
Peter Ventresco, Precinct 8. I probably know almost as much as John about this whole case, right from the very beginning. And when she told me what happened, I couldn't believe it, but she said there was a witness there that works in the town hall, but he was home, and he was at the meeting virtually, and he heard everything that was said to her to go F yourself, get the F out of here. And when I went to the town hall to question him this, to make sure what she told me was true, he said, yes, that happened. And he apologized to Jonah. He said he never heard any language like that in any kind of a meetings. And so I approached the town manager and Selectman Gavey, and I said, you have to disband that group because for how they treated a woman. And they said there's nothing they can do about it, but they can because they appointed, they can fire. And they should have fired the gentleman that said them words. Or the chairman of that board should have taken a vote to have him removed and given an apology, and it would have ended there, but it didn't. Now, that witness at the town hall, I caught him up to him last week outside the town hall, and I asked him about it, and now all of a sudden, maybe he's afraid of his job or what happened, but now he's denying everything. So I just want to go there. Now, you people in here were making kind of jokes, laughing about this. I don't think it's anything to laugh. You got to look at this situation as not what she's saying, or not what they're saying. Look at it, what they said to her. It could have been your sister, your girlfriend, your mother, your aunt, or your grandmother. Look at that in that perspective, because it should never have been done. All I got out of the board and the selectmen and the town manager was they're going to give them a book of conduct of what to do. Well, if people at this stage, if they don't know what's right or wrong, then there's something drastically wrong with these people. And I'm saying these people should be dissolved. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Lisa, then Molly. Please identify yourself, Lisa. Thank you.
Lisa Lyons, Precinct 2. Through you, Town Moderator. I know a previous representative asked this question, but I don't recall the answer. When the select board appoints people to a committee and something as serious as this gets brought to their attention, what is the recourse? I mean, basically, the select board, for the people that don't know, basically said it's a he said, she said situation and was hoping that this whole thing would go away. For the people who don't know here, town meeting reps, and for the people at home, I do believe, John, is this correct? You did go to the select board and they told you you needed to go through here to town meeting, that this was not your first choice? Is that?
This definitely.
There's no questions right now.
Oh, okay.
I just want to bring it back. This is your comments.
This wasn't my first choice.
It's my understanding that she brought this to the select board. It was not John's first choice to come here to town meeting. Correct. She wanted this resolved before it came to town meeting. And unfortunately, the select board at the time with the chair did not step up and take care of business. And it unfortunately came here to town meeting.
And all I asked for was an apology, and I would have ended it all. That never was forthcoming, as I said.
Excuse me, there was no question. I'll let you do a summary in a few minutes, okay?
Can I speak,
So,
Bob?
to summarize, we can't have committees like this in town.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on.
Can I be heard, Bob?
Molly Cochran.
Thank you, Chair of the Climate Action Plan Committee. If I could have everybody's attention for a moment or two. There's about 10 minutes worth of misrepresentations that I cannot address, but I want to give you one key important piece of information that is new information, and then I'd like to address some of the misrepresentations. The new information is that, and again, there is a separate article on funding where I will have a 10-minute presentation. The new information is that on Friday, the committee learned that MAPC has awarded initial grant funding to the committee to get our work started. This would be threshold funding. It would be pretty unfortunate and a black mark on the town if we have to turn around and say to MAPC, a major grant funding source for the town, that actually, because somebody is angry, that we're dissolving the Climate Action Plan Committee. That would be a huge embarrassment. But with respect to the allegations, which were exaggerated from the last speaker, there was an unfortunate outburst before the meeting started. At the end of that meeting, there was a complaint to the select board, which I responded to and shared with them the conduct that we have suffered from the petitioner through you, Mr. Moderator. And after that, there was never anything done by the select board or anything other than everybody signing a code of conduct, which everybody in my committee promptly signed a code of conduct. Nothing like that has ever happened before, and certainly the F-bomb was not out of my mouth. That's not how I was raised. I also want to clarify that in order to sort of diffuse the situation, because tension had been building from the many disruptions that this individual brought to our meetings, we went virtual meetings for like months. We didn't even meet in person. We were afraid to meet in person because of the conflict and the disruptions. So again, you can see on SMAC that we continued our work, but we continue to meet in person. I'm getting a lot of noise back there. I'd like to be able to speak. I'd also like to say, with respect to the different views of everybody, I have news for you. Science is not political. Reality is not political. This committee was formed to address the challenges of climate change. It was the select board's discretion as to who they put on the committee. I did not control that. We have been doing our work. We have been doing our work for many months. And I would like to call out that I have had support. We have had support from town officials and from select board member Mr. McCrisky came to one of our meetings, indicated support for our committee, and even that he actually had personal contact with Gina McCarthy, former EPA administrator, who was going to try to help us out with funding sources. I appreciated that. James Conlon, the town
employee who's on our committee, has done a wonderful job. He is very expert at these issues. It's also important for other grant purposes to have the Climate Action Plan Committee. Our town energy manager, Kathy Stanley, has confirmed for me that it helps with grant applications to show that you have community support for sustainability and climate change. And I just want to say, do you want Stoughton to miss out on all these funding and opportunities moving our town to a more sustainable future because somebody has had a personality conflict? And John, if you want an apology, I'm going to give you an apology. I'm sorry somebody used the F-bomb in front of you before the meeting started. I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry for what my committee members have suffered from, some of whom didn't even want to come to the meetings anymore because of your level of disruption.
Okay,
it's been a very unfortunate situation, but I would ask that you support the important work of this committee so that we can accept the grant funding that has been awarded by MAPC.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Cynthia Walsh?
Move the previous question, please.
All right. I'll take that. Okay, it was moved by Cynthia Walsh, seconded by Carolyn Campbell. Okay, this is the cutoff debate. We're going to just do this voice, okay? Needed 2/3. If there's a doubt in the mind, my little mind of the moderator, I have to go to a clicker. Okay, this is the cutoff debate. All those in favor of cutting off debate, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It sounds like it's unanimous. All right. So, would you like to do a 2 or 3 minute summary?
No.
Yes.
It's her, look, it's her prerogative. I treat everybody the same here, as you know that. All right. Please, it'd be good to start and be somewhat quick. Go ahead.
Okay. When you exclude people, you cause division. And when you cause division, it only escalates. And this could have all been avoided if we didn't allow this committee to exclude. And wait a minute, I have my paper here. Okay. This just can't be swept under the rug. This had to have a spotlight shined on it because it just wasn't right. It sets a bad precedent, as I said before. As far as the open meeting law issue, I really felt uncomfortable doing that, and then I just found out it's not really that big a deal. It's not like they get punitive measures or go to jail or anything, so I ended up doing the open meeting law. Excuse me, John Anzavino, that was for you to hear. I'm sorry. I just wanted you to know I did file the open meeting laws, just so you know. I did it late because I just felt it was like, it seemed vindictive, and I just couldn't be like that, so I didn't want to do it, but I ended up doing it because it was the right thing to do because they weren't following the rules. And as far as not being able to be on the committee, it really didn't matter because I got to go to all the meetings. Anyway, it didn't matter. Once one of the kind selectmen found the schedule for me, I was able to then go because that was being hidden from me too. So it's not me that's doing these things. These things are being done to me. And because my reputation's on the line, I want to ask, I hate to do this, but out of any of the selectmen, is there anyone who felt that this was a he said, she said, and that they never, ever came out and admitted to this?
No, I'm not going to allow that. You're in summarize, and then we're going to go to the vote.
Okay, well, I know there wouldn't be anybody because I had the meeting with the officials, and I know they admitted that happened, and it was said on the record because I specifically said, so that's on the record. But okay. I just feel badly that this has become such an issue, but then again, maybe by bringing this, by shining a spotlight on it, maybe it won't happen to anyone else again because now they'll be a little more hesitant to pull something like this. And I'll end with, I'll let the decency and character of our town be measured by the outcome of the vote. And I'll leave it at that.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, the time is, we're going to put the...
Oh, can I
We're going to take a vote?
No? Can I vote or no?
Yeah. Yes. All right.
Can I, wait a minute. Can I just ask a quick
I'm moving
question?
ahead. I'm not recognizing you right now.
Okay, can I ask a quick question?
No questions.
We don't have, do we have a quorum in order for?
I'm not taking any, we're going right to the vote, not recognizing
And can I
anybody.
just ask?
No.
Is a yes
I'm
vote to
sorry.
dissolve?
It's a
Oh.
simple vote, simple majority.
Yes to dissolve.
Yes, no.
Yes to
or
dissolve.
abstain.
Okay, just so we know.
All right, please, are we up on the screen?
Yeah.
Yes, please vote now, 1, 2, or 3. Yes, no, or abstain. Don't anybody leave yet. We have to dissolve the special town meeting. Okay, motion fails. 48 yes, 77 no, 1 abstention.
Mr. Moderator,
Who's asking? Yes, Mr. Murphy, I recognize you.
I would like to adjourn.
No, we have to.
I would like to
motion.
dissolve.
I need a
Mr. Moderator, I would make a motion that we dissolve the special town meeting.
Second.
And adjourn the annual to May 8th on Wednesday.
And I'll add that we will adjourn the annual town meeting until Wednesday at 7 p.m. right back here.
Okay. Do I have a second by Peter Murphy?
Second.
All those in favor say yes. All those opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you all. Have a great night.